It's time to leave your cinematic troubles behind. Let the takes flow through you. And let the noise from the zeitgeist subside. Welcome to Cast Against Time.
We did it. New year. Oh my god.
2026
We made it.
is upon you. Yeah.
How are you feeling about 2026 already?
Oh, I was going to say welcome to 2003 because that's about where we're ending the year.
Wow.
Yeah. But you know what? That's okay because we get to honorably and officially with today's episode kick 2025 in the dick and say no mas. No
mas.
How's your holidays and New Year's?
That's another sound bit we should have.
What's
is
that?
The Si Senor from Once Upon a Time.
Okay.
The holidays were good.
Oh
my god.
Oh.
Funny Bone?
The studio's just consistently wants us to hang this up.
But we won't.
Tell me about your fucking holiday.
Santa was very nice to me.
Oh,
I made him cookies. He only ate
Arlen-
half of them. Oh, do you want? Actually, I went up to the Pacific Northwest.
P&O.
It was very nice.
Mm.
I love old Seattle.
Okay.
Had some good beers, some good food.
Yeah.
Went on the underground tour.
Oh yeah, you visited the set of what was the Head Demon movie?
They mentioned like a B movie that filmed down there that was atrocious.
No. The one that just came out that everybody lost their shit over like 3 years ago, where she's got like a head demon and she runs backwards. Shit, it's like literally like a scene where she's in a jail cell and the head demon pops out and she kills everybody in the jail cell. Anyway.
Anyways, yeah, it was nice. Watched some basketball as I usually do on Christmas Day, and that's kind of my holidays.
Well, it is our year-end extravaganza, even though it is a new year. But we need to officially...
You didn't even tell me about your holiday.
Well, what do you want to know? I mean...
You asked me!
Okay, I went up to Central California.
Wow.
Which is the asshole of California. And I caught the crud. Then I came home and watched Medieval Times. That was
I
it.
did see you in Medieval Times.
I did. It was one of the most cinematic things that happened to me all winter. Because we were rooting for the Green Knight, which was appropriate and fitting.
Wow.
He was the only knight of color.
I've never
and in
been
the
so
Orange in Orange County, that makes him persona non
Oh,
grata.
yeah, you're in Buena Park, right?
Oh yeah.
At Portis?
Nothing buena about that fucking park, I'll tell you right now. Tell you that for free. No, it's fine. I'm just glad to have that fucking year in our rear view, although we're certainly starting this one off with the bang. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, is there ever going to be a good year? Are there going to? Well, actually, that raises an interesting question. I mean, when you think about the year that was 2025, at least in terms of the films, we're not an almanac podcast.
Mm-mm.
No, we're thinking about the films here. What stands out to you about the year 2025 in the films? Thematically, or when I say
this is interesting because I was going to ask you. I mean, we're going to go over our top 10, and one of my questions leading into it.
We've made much ado about
That's what
this.
I just said. And so one of my leading question was to ask you if you saw any themes in your list.
Well, I certainly see themes in my list, but I'm just thinking about the year in general. Like for instance, when I think of the year 2025, I'm going to think of the word, and it's much made ado of in
Woke.
the news. I'm going to think of the word in shitification. Just how AI slop has, and the promise of it has forced the major companies to pare down on anything interesting that they were doing.
I think you're right, and I'm trying to think of a theme of the overarching industry or the films in the industry.
I mean, this is a year
as opposed to my list, but you're right because this does feel like the first year where all the studios in the industry is, I wouldn't say embracing AI, but including it.
Well, this is also the year that virtually every studio has bent the knee to the fucking overlord that is ruining everything we enjoy. That'll be a major fucking theme.
Yes.
Certainly historically. But I mean, it's also like the year where it seems like we've reached the peak of superhero fatigue. You know, I feel like there's like a lot of
there was maybe like 2 of those movies.
Maybe
and they were in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, well, and also maybe last year was the peak of that because I feel like we had a kind of a return to that shit this year.
I mean, Avengers Doomsday.
There were 3 new Marvels this year. Compared to 1, I think, last year.
No, you're right. It was Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Captain America. Am I wrong?
Captain America was this year. God, that was bad.
What are you talking about? It's not going to crack your list.
Harrison Ford, what are we doing?
I mean, these are the things I'm looking for over the course of 2025. I mean, it's been a bad year for movies. Not necessarily content-wise, but just a bad year for movie theaters and movie box offices. Avatar's just barely cracking 1 billion. Before that, I think Wicked and like Zootopia 2.
I don't know if Wicked for good even.
Oh, well. I think it made its budget back and then some.
But not like the first one.
That's definitely true. This is also just a piss poor year for animation, oddly. Usually the animation is always pretty solid, but this year I just mentioned Zootopia 2, but I think that's what we got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like this is a down year or it's like a gap year. Because I do think superhero films are coming back next year. There's some animation stuff lined up like Toy Story 5.
Everybody needs it. Everybody's been clamoring for it.
Toy Story 5?
Well, I mean, it's like we saw, what happens when the kid outgrows his toys, and then we saw what happens when the kid goes to college, and then when kid comes back and gives it to another fucking kid, and then when they get tired of being objects and fuck off to, where they go to like a junkyard or fantasy.
I didn't see the fourth one.
Now they, it's fucked. What are they? So the next one they're going to be like
AI.
They're going to be donated to geriatric center.
No, the trailer shows that it's like an AI laptop.
I saw the trailer. It's all I need. It's all we need is more fucking.
Is Randy Newman in the fourth one? Tim
Allen in the fucking public conscious. What?
Does Randy Newman do every movie still?
Is Randy Newman still alive?
I don't know. I think he is.
I don't know if he is.
Does he make money every time the Lakers or Dodgers?
He probably makes money anytime somebody walks past the front entrance of Disneyland. Anyway.
What do you think that guy does with millions of dollars?
I think that he continues to infest ear holes with drivel.
Quick question. Randy Newman or Billy Joel?
God, man, that's a Sophie's choice if ever there was one. I guess Billy Joel's diverse enough that if I had to put a best of together, I could find like maybe 3 bops in there that I can pretend to give somebody else,
This is not a podcast about Randy Newman.
No, it's not a show about Randy Newman either.
What show is it?
You might ask.
You might tell me.
Just Against Time.
A show where we examine the Pauls. The show where we examine Paul Blart Mall Cop. A show where we examine the pathology of the mob as it pertains to the world of cinema. Where we look across the filmic discourse in an attempt to restore some sanity. We do this in one of 2 different ways. One, by unpacking the ideas and assertions we stumble across out there in the media, be it social or otherwise, while occasionally subjecting ourselves to mysterious media oddities. And 2, by spinning the reel of Scopophilia, where we let fate decide on a series of film-related exercises that are in no way a meaningless or desperate grab for content. But you're jumping the gun. We're still talking about 2025. We're talking about themes, talking about things that happened to us, talking about kicking it in the dick and leaving it in the rear view. What else stands out to you?
Just about that year?
Yeah. Let me ask you this.
You got to prompt me.
Okay. Actually, here's a little thought experiment I want to run.
Here we go.
Okay. So I want to look at, I've compiled it from a few different sources, including The Ringer, AV Club, and a few others. Every year about the midpoint of the year, they release a list that goes something like best 10 or the
so far
20 movies of the year so far. Yes, you hit upon the key phrase there, so far. And I've always wanted to look back at those lists at the end of the year and see if anything retains any relevance by the end of the year. So these are just a few titles, and already I could just see that we're in trouble here. So number 10 on The Ringer, for example, is The Woman in the Yard. Number 9, The Phoenician Scheme. Number 8, Friendship. Number 7...
Oh, fuck, I forgot about Friendship.
Right? Misericordia. Number 6, Sinners. Number 5, Ephus. Number 4, On Becoming a Guinea Fowl. Number 3, 28 Years Later. Number 2, Caught by the Tides. Number 1, The Shrouds. I mean, look, I thought The Shrouds was great, but
don't
Number
recall the
one?
Shrouds.
It's a Cronin. It's a not celebrated Cronenberg flick.
Oh yeah, the Vincent Cassell one.
That's right. And now let's look at the AV Club's list. So they have the best of 2025 so far, also published in July. They have the movie April, which has come up a few times. The Day the Earth Blew Up, the Looney Tunes movie. Jesus, that is dire. Movies like Familiar Touch, don't even know what that is. Final Destination Bloodlines, Jesus.
People loved that movie.
Friendship, Grand Theft Hamlet. Oh, I heard that was fun. Invention, Materialist. Nobody's fucking about the fucking Materialist. Mickey 17.
That was this year?
That was this year, and that was on. I mean,
I've heard mixed.
It's just not. It's not for me. I'll put it that way. On Swift Horses. I mean, like the Pavement documentary, Presence. The Shrouds again.
This just reminds me of how little the first half of the year produced.
Well, but that's kind of why I'm running this experiment. Warfare. Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of why I'm running this experiment, because I do feel like you kind of have to backload the year with the stuff that's actually going to make your list. And
I don't think it hit until about July.
Well,
I think when F1 came out, that was kind of
and that's how it is every year. And by the way, that is all just to say, because I'm trying to preface our lists, and yes, as we already mentioned at the top of the show, we'll mention it again. This is our best of 2025. Like I said, kicking that year in the dick, looking at the rearview mirror, saying peace out, bitch. And but I say this to preface because I'm looking back at my list now, and I fear like the homogeneity of lists. I do think that, as happens kind of every year, my list probably reflects a lot of others that you might find out there in the wild. And I just wonder if that's because everybody has recency bias when the award shits get dropped around Thanksgiving, November, or if it's because they really are saving the creme de la cremes until the end of the year.
I think in this year's example, it's more of the latter. I think that everybody dropped it around Christmas and maybe a few weeks before or just right after.
Yeah. Well, and also having said that, I'm looking at my list now and realizing that I do have quite a few early in the year entries on here.
Ooh, spoiler.
But I've spoiled nothing. But this has been a tough one. I also ran an interesting thought experiment about 2025, or rather I heard somebody say this, and when I think back on 2025, I think, oh, good year for movies. But then
that's my initial thought, so I'm interested in what you're going to say.
Well, but then somebody said, how many movies would be a 5 out of 5? And then I thought about that.
Well, you say that about any year, though.
But I can think of it. I can at least count on my top 3 being 5 out of 5s.
I don't
know if I can say that.
I would say
year.
2.
2
out of the ones I've seen. I would say 2.
It's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say any of them are perfect 5s. But I do think that there are movies that will age very well from this year. I guess I'll put it that way. Even though this year's themes are like pretty predominantly about a certain handful of subjects that get repeated and recycled.
Yeah, that's kind of what I had difficulty with and differentiating. It's not that I didn't like and enjoy the movies on their own, but the themes kind of bled into each other. There was like 2 prominent themes that I found in my list that it was hard to not repeat why I liked each film.
Yeah. We're going to launch right into our list because this tends to be a longer than usual episode every year, and we're not made out of time or money, god damn it. This is all just to say that we don't get paid for this shit. You're welcome.
Hey, yes.
But I mean, I do feel like I have a few glaring omissions on my list, and I guess I figured I would air them now.
Mm-hmm. I think I have a few too, yeah.
Like I said, we don't get paid for this. I occasionally get screeners, but that's about as much early access that I get. And, occasionally I'll get
corporate shill
invited to. Yeah, I'm a huge sellout. But I didn't get a chance to see. I'd say the biggest thing on the list is Hamnet. I think that will almost certainly be in awards contention come March. Did you know the fucking Golden Globes are this weekend?
I don't pay attention to those anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, is that not a surprise to you?
No, they're usually before the Oscars, which are in February.
Yeah, but it's fucking it's like the first weekend in January. I just didn't realize
it's almost January 10th. We're just flying by.
Yeah, great.
2026.
Well, time is.
But we had talked about that offline when we both had like a movie or two that we needed to see, and I was between The Secret Agent and Hamnet, and I chose Hamnet, and then you chose The Secret Agent.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if either of those pop up on either list. But aside from that, I didn't get a chance to see Resurrection. That was a big one for me. Didn't get a chance to see April is on a lot of lists. Didn't get a chance to see, well, Avatar. And, I don't think the Avatar Fire and Ash was likely to crack our list, but I
don't care.
We've talked about that off mic. I do have a reverence for those movies that you may not. I don't think that they are story rich or story interesting, and I absolutely see how they're an appropriation of some of the shittier Western tropes that Cameron probably doesn't have any business appropriating in any form. And I also think that they're, frankly, I'd be hard pressed to name even, I don't know, 3 characters from those films. I can name you 1 or 2.
I could not name you one.
I mean, Jake Sully.
Is Na'vi the people?
That's the people.
Okay.
And I think it's
I know
Pandora.
I know the people.
Right?
Pandora is the world where
Okay.
people are depressed that they're not part of.
And you can count yourself and myself among them. I'd rather live in Pandora than this fucking world. Wouldn't you?
That is true. That is true.
Anyway, but I do feel like that is a glaring omission, if only because it's going to be in the conversation somehow. And Cameron, look, love or hate.
Did you see Wicked?
No, but that's not going to be in the conversation.
Globe nomination.
It's universally hated, and it's only got a Globe nomination because the Globes do this fucking thing where
it's on some people's lists. I don't agree with it. I don't name them, but when I was scanning through, there's people that think it's going to be nominated,
like
for
on
Best
Cinema
Picture.
Blend or one of those stupid fucking blogs or like BuzzFeed.
Or
like,
Chan.
Oh yeah, you know how much they love movies with prominent women in them. No, I don't know. But I do feel like that Cameron's movies should still be considered as an event. So anyway, I see that as a glaring omission. I think that they're still kind of an event, even though I'm not excited either, really.
I didn't see it, but that's not an omission for me. I didn't see no other choice. I also didn't see My Secret Agent, which is one that I did want to see. And I think those are 2 that were on the top of my list that I didn't get to. I don't think that there was any other movies that I really needed to see to form a top 10 list. Okay. That doesn't mean that there aren't some that are probably on some lists or probably on your list that I didn't.
Well,
but I feel more confident in this 10 than I have in the last couple of years.
Really? What now?
Or at least I should say the top 7.
Do you want to? I feel like every year this changes, but do you want to speak to the methodology of your list a little bit? Like, okay, for example, on my list, I try to be representative, right? Like, so for instance, I had 2 movies of a certain type. This morning, you kind of came over and we're doing a little bit of work from our offices here in fine Redondo Beach. And I was in the midst of watching a film that could easily slot into another place in my list. And it was between a movie that's on my list and this one. But I think that they're doing very similar things. And because they were sort of representative of the same style and ethos and aesthetic, well, maybe not aesthetic, but the same storytelling principles, I felt like I could slot one in and slot one out.
So one canceled each other out, or the other out.
One canceled the other out, but it's, I thought they were both quality films, and if this was just about my enjoyment, I could have easily just slotted the other one behind that one that took its place. But I want my best of the year lists, at least for the last few that I've been doing. I think I've been sticking to this methodology of, I try to walk the line between, like, I think these are the best movies of the year and these are the movies that I've enjoyed the most.
You want a little bit more parity.
I want to acknowledge what I think is best, but I also want my enjoyment to creep in there as well. There's movies on here that I didn't necessarily enjoy all that much, to be honest. Now, most of these are films that I do enjoy. And granted, I just take pleasure from the experience of seeing a well-crafted film. And if I have that knowledge, especially going back to a film that I've had some time to digest and come to some conclusions about what the fuck I think it's trying to do, then my enjoyment is only ever heightened. So some of these films on here that I acknowledge as being great, but maybe not having the best feelings about walking away from, I'll probably fucking love on a return view or a revisit. But I'm just speaking to my list-making ideals.
I think more this year than other years, my methodology was what stuck with me. And we talked about this a little off mic.
Yeah,
about
that was part of it too.
About movies that just you couldn't shake. And there was a good amount of them, for me at least, that I would think about days later. And to your point, there's a lot of movies that I've seen that kind of bled into each other thematically.
Right.
And rather than trying to find parity, I leaned the opposite way in my methodology. I went with, okay, these have similar themes, but they're doing it a bit differently, or they're nuanced in the way that one movie's doing it versus another. I think I leaned more emotionally on how a film impacted me or how the experience impacted me rather than...
Sure.
Of course, there were some movies where I'm like, technically, all around, this movie is a well-crafted film, but I think more so I lean to how it stuck with me.
But you're not, I mean, because a movie can stick with you and be an absolute rag. I mean, like...
No, I mean, that's sticking to you in a different way.
We watched About My Father this year.
Yeah, but how many times, how many days do you think about that?
I think about it a lot.
I mean, it should be on your list then.
It's a nightmare. I mean, I think, doesn't mean that I want it to be repeated.
Well, I think we both understand it's thinking about it in a not even a positive light.
It's a way that it's something that sticks with you because it's
a way that art should stick with you, where it's
you dropped the A word.
It's turning in your mind, and it's bringing out different experiences or angles or kind of tangents of the themes that it's presenting,
stimulating you.
Yes,
titillating you,
tickling me.
Yes.
Emotionally tickling me is the method.
I think being titillated is important.
Well, who's going to go first?
Ooh, that's a good. Let's flip the bottle cap for it.
Wow.
Let's see. Champagne of beers. I go first. Asshole side. You go first.
My God. Where'd it go?
Oh, God.
Oh, it's asshole side.
And that means you go first.
So much pressure.
Oh, boy. All right. We're starting with number 10, folks. Here it goes. Kicking 2025 in the dick. Put in the rearview mirror saying goodbye.
Hold on. All right. This is a movie.
Not ready.
This was a movie that came out earlier in the year. I don't think I believed would be on my list. And then I thought about it more and I revisited it. It kind of just crept up, and it is 28 years later.
Oh, shit.
Are these useful?
Nah, got plenty of that. But this is
What is it?
a frisbee. You never seen a frisbee before? Oh, it's great. You're gonna love it.
Okay. What a clip
I
you've
don't know.
chosen.
Yeah, I tried to find a clip that...
Yes. When I think of
And then
28 years
Scream.
later, I think of the frisbee scene.
I was trying to find a clip that was available that had dialogue because there's a lot of screaming.
Let's not spoil our method behind our madness to the public. Okay.
So this
28 years
movie-
later, so you didn't think it would make the list.
No.
Okay.
And because I think, to your point, there's a lot of recency bias in the last month or so. And that's a movie that came out in March, February, something early like that.
That sounds right.
I remember seeing it and really liking it. And I wasn't, as opposed to like the big fandom of the first one, I didn't see it until years later and I liked it, but I wasn't part of the whole fanfare that just loved it beyond belief.
Okay.
And so I didn't really understand or know going in why there was this need for a sequel. But having seen it,
Well, it's a third sequel. You know that.
yes. So, I mean, if you want to count the Jeremy Renner one.
We must.
Is it? I don't know that it's canon.
Oh, it certainly is, yes. Robert Carr?
But
Bobby Carr's?
I'm not usually a huge Danny Boyle fan. I think I've brought this
Really?
up to you before.
I don't think you have expressed that to me. Now you've said that I feel like I've heard you say you haven't liked his recent output, and I think most people would agree with you there.
Yeah.
But
Which hilariously, I love the Steve Jobs movie that he did.
well,
But-
it's not. It's a well-made piece of movie.
But this movie feels like something that's in his wheelhouse. That's something that he was passionate about. Him and Alex Garland didn't. I don't know if it reluctantly or they just kind of fell back into this world, and because of what's happening in these times, it felt more relevant. And I think that what they're doing here is really interesting. And I don't even think that they figured that this is how the story would evolve. And I think that it's a very clever way of extending the story, keeping the lore, and kind of hinting at the isolationism, the nationalism, the way our worlds exist, and the kind of societal issues that we have now. It's filled with great performances, specifically Jodie Comer. And I think that Boyle is doing something really interesting by connecting this grassroots tech of using an iPhone and using different ways of filming this the same way he did with a camcorder in the first one. I think that it's just very inventive. It's a hell of a ride. It's very interesting what they're doing with the zombies and building a whole different angle of them having souls or being able to breed or do all this stuff. And I think that it's a lot more fun than I expected. It's a lot more tense than I expected, and it's a lot more relevant than I expected. And I just really enjoyed it, and I didn't expect it to be on this top 10, but it creeped in.
I'm happy for that film that it is seeing some love on some end of your lists. I didn't expect to see it anywhere really, and Yeah, I had a really positive things to say about that film. And by the way, we will have our, I guess we probably should have led with our runners up, honorable mentions, but maybe we'll save those for the end.
Yeah.
Makes
we
more
don't want to
sense.
spoil it. Yeah.
But I will say that I think that, yeah, that movie is doing a lot of interesting things. And I'm glad, at least for Boyle, to see like that he's on the right track with his career and that they're doing something inventive with that genre finally. Because who needs a fucking zombie movie anymore? Really. It's now between Dracula and just zombies of every stripe as to how much they can saturate.
Frankenstein.
I guess they are doing a lot of Frankenstein shits recently, but that's very recent. Like they've been the zombie
be on your
genre
list.
has just been oversaturated for way too long.
Who knows? Frankenstein might show up.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be high up on both our lists.
So that was my number 10.
Okay.
Number 10.
Number 10. Well, number 10 was a really difficult slot for me.
You were toiling the last couple days.
I wrestled with number 10 the most because there are some films that feel like they really belong on a top 10 list for this year. And there are movies that I feel like history is going to be kind to. You know, there's this book that Chuck Klosterman wrote. I think it was called like what if we poop on it, or
No, it was like what if we I just bought my uncle this book.
What if we're wrong? But
yeah,
what if we're wrong?
I bought that book from my uncle on Christmas. Yeah.
I read that book a while ago, and the whole premise of that book is like basically, you know, what if the shit that we think is a classic right now is going to age like 7-Eleven guacamole?
But you're talking the opposite here.
Well, no. But what I'm saying is I feel like the movies that aren't going to age like a Circle K tuna salad should be on your list. Yeah. And yet I feel like I omitted some of those for movies like the one that is my number 10. And also, you know, this is a movie that falls into one of the categories we were talking about earlier, a movie that I didn't necessarily love, at least when I first saw it. My number 10 is The Mastermind, directed by Kelly Reichardt.
So what's going on, Maud? You're kind of aloof. Everything okay?
You stole those Arthur Dove paintings for Professor Pruitt to unload.
What? Where'd you get that?
That red swirly sun painting. That hung in Pruitt's office. He was your thesis advisor. You must have seen it 1,000,000 times.
Wow, that's strange.
He was your fence.
My fence? Sounds funny coming from you.
I don't want you staying here anymore after tonight. I'm serious. And don't call either. I don't want you talking to Fred at all. I want you to leave us alone, okay?
It's pretty rough, Maud.
Look at the position that you've already put us in just by coming here.
Okay, well, I see that clip cut off the most important part of that scene.
This is a movie. I'm not to cut you off, but this is a movie that I struggled with as well, and may or may not be on the list. And it was, I can see why you would toil with it.
Let me talk. Well, so first of all, I really like Kelly Reichardt, but I there's a thing that people do when she unloads one of her movies upon us.
It's boring.
No. When people
I saw a lot of that though.
Well, I think this is a very methodically paced movie, and I'm not going to say otherwise. I mean, you can't. There's a 5-minute shot of a man unloading boxes into a alcove.
Yes,
like a badly lit shot. Yeah. And that deliberation is part of the process. And Kelly Reichardt is a vibe artist, and sometimes the vibe brings you in. I thought that for instance, we didn't do a best of in the last couple of years, I think, but I think that Showing Up would have been in my list because it is such just a vibe movie that kind of wraps you up in feeling and setting, but isn't necessarily plot driven. Mm-hmm. And you could certainly say that about The Mastermind, and people are saying this is one of Reichardt's most accessible films, which that's a pretty tough pill to swallow because it is very deliberately paced. And the thing is with a lot of Reichardt's movie, well, particularly this one, this movie necessitated a decoder ring. What do I mean by that? I mean, like, I needed to hear her talk about it. I needed to hear other people that are more adept at catching some of the nuances and little details. I need to read what they had to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
And with that codex in hand, a world of detail is revealed that makes it really impossible to disregard this movie. It is competent in the extreme. It's like enmeshed in the tapestry of its time and its social context more than any other film I can think of from this year. One criticism that I think felt really true when I first saw it was, so I have a quote here that I read from a critic that I respect. They said, "Is such a subversion of this type of misogyny and selfishness truly important or frankly even necessary? Do we have bigger fish to fry? The end result of this misplaced concern with a secondary and even tertiary is a rather drab and even dull film. The real drama is missed." And I kind of felt that way coming out of this. But what that criticism misses is the set of conditions that enables a character like, what is Josh O'Connor's character's name? JB. The set of conditions is what Kelly Reichardt is wagging her finger at, not necessarily just him and his deplorable behavior.
Well, yeah, I don't want to diminish the way you got around to this, but I saw the film and it kind of made sense off the viewing to me. This guy is a master of none. He's an arrogant guy that thinks he's entitled but is also kind of aloof. But I also think that it's a way of showing someone who's lost, and someone who's lost in a time where a lot of Americans were kind of lost.
Well, that's what I'm honing in on. I mean, that's particularly important. That backdrop, that tapestry that like you are being woven into is really rich. Mm-hmm. And the movie's screaming that stuff at you throughout the film. And that's what the movie does really well. And it does that while also like grasping how absurd and how recklessly pulled off this heist is, and the negation of JB or Josh O'Connor's privilege, because he's like a man of means. He's got like a judge for a father, and that comes up. But it's just really deep film, and it's got a lot of great lines, and it's a movie that's really deep, but that's not really garish or particularly, pedantic. It's going to age like a very fine wine. I think that Reichardt is a very, very smart filmmaker. I heard her talking about directing Alana Haim in a scene, and, Alana kept kind of looking at the children and giving them a little smile because, they're put in this kind of extreme situation with their father. And Reichardt said, don't do that. They wouldn't have done that in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And I thought that just even like a little detail like that is like, that's a director that's honed into her actors. Reichardt's really good at what she does. So, but the thing is, this movie came at the behest of movies that I think that we will look back at 2025 and talk about more.
Yeah.
But I couldn't leave it off. So that's number 10. That's The Mastermind.
I have a quick question because a couple episodes ago you brought up Josh O'Connor and asked what the deal was with him.
Yeah.
After seeing this movie, do you recant that or do you see it more?
Well, I always thought that he's talented. I do think that he's got more range after seeing The Mastermind than maybe I realized. But I do still think that like he is a talent agency's flavor of the week kind of situation. That doesn't mean that he's not talented or it's not warranted. I just think that sometimes like a known quantity that has talent or has ability pops up. I guess my only trepidation about him in the past has been like, where did this guy come from? I can't point to like the thing that put him on our map.
The Crown.
Yeah, probably The Crown. And he does a good job in that. So I guess I can't.
I was thinking about him the other day, and I think that if something popped up of like, are him and Paul Mescal like the next Tom Hanks, Michael Keaton of the 80s and 90s?
I don't know, but they're both having a fucking run right now. So, I mean, and honestly, I'm just happy that they're recognizable stars still. Mm-hmm. So I'll take it. And if he's going to be the next big name, I'm happy to include him there because I think that he's shown early signs of talent. But yeah, that's number 10. That's The Mastermind.
Wow.
So let's go to your number 9.
Don't hate it.
Number 9.
My number 9 is one that it was another one that came out earlier in the year. There was a little bit of bias to how big it was in the beginning of the year. It kind of watered down my perception of it. And then when I thought about it more, it was one that I don't think I could have left off a top 10 for this year.
I know where we're going with
and
this.
That movie is...
Why you need him to do that? You big and strong enough to push past us? Well, that wouldn't be too polite now, would it, Miss Annie? I don't know why I'm talking to you anyway. Smoke.
Don't talk to him. You talking to me right now. Why you can't just walk your big ass up in here without an invite, huh? Go ahead. Admit to it.
Admit to what?
That you dead.
So now that's an actual relevant clip that you chose.
Thank you. I'm learning.
There's no
Learning curve.
frisbees in this movie.
The frisbee was relevant, okay?
Yeah.
So Sinners was a movie that was obviously huge this year.
Yeah.
And for a lot of reasons. It was a blockbuster smash. It's a Michael B. Jordan movie. It's a Ryan Coogler movie. They do big movies.
Yes.
It was a cultural phenomenon. It was a smash hit. Everybody loved it, including myself when I saw it. And I think that as the months went by, I think I just kind of got sick of hearing about it. And I kind of just thought, oh, okay, the problems with it that I had kind of became bigger because people just wouldn't shut up about it. And that's not necessarily...
Well, and it's not without its problems.
Yes. And there's some problems that I will list. But you can't deny that it's a big cultural movie. And it drew a lot of people to the theaters, which in this day and age is a good thing. It was a big proponent for the way it was shot, the way it was projected with IMAX, with 70 millimeter film. And I know Nolan's done that, but across...
Well, but he did it he's done that as a filmmaker who's known for his superhero content.
Yes.
And not necessarily his original content.
Yes. And so along with that, I think it was just expertly crafted as a genre flick, which is not usually the case. He was able to walk that line between being culturally relevant with being a blockbuster and dealing with societal issues in the past, racial tensions. The performances across the board are great. And I think that it gets a little hairy in the third act. Personally, I think that when it's revealed that they're vampires and there's or I should say when a character is like, oh, they're vampires. I know how to take some garlic. And it kind of gets into like that. It gets a little less dense for me, but it's doing a lot. I think the Irish immigrant side of it is interesting. It's layering a already historical issue with this country on top of itself. And I think that Jack O'Connell might be, out of the last two movies, he might be an MVP of this year with his two performances.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just, even if there are issues and even if it's just a little bit more genre and blockbuster, you can't deny the impact that it's had. You can't deny that the talent is there.
Yeah, look, when I talked about the movies that I feel like belong on a 2025 list, I think this movie just belongs. That's what's hard about this year, because I feel like there are a lot of movies that are obviously better executed or at least more competently made. But Coogler like knows what he's doing, and honestly, like I almost wish that this movie was like an anthology movie, because there's a bunch of great short films in this film.
Well, we've talked about the first third of it being the best part of the film.
Yeah, but I'm saying that I think that you could make each. I mean, you could make
do
five
with each character.
You could make 5 little vignettes.
I'm gonna fuck up his name. Is it Delroy Lindo? You can have a backstory of just his character.
Oh, and that's what I mean. And also, I think that the filmmaking's doing different things throughout. So, for instance, I think that there's a process movie, like a heist movie almost, with the assembly of the crew. And then I think there's a pure horror movie. I think there's an ode to music. I think there's just a revenge flick in there somewhere. And I almost would, like I said, I almost wish it was just an anthology movie. And it feels that way. It feels like there's a lot of disparate things that are working together. I think that this is the movie that they invented that pop. They've been talking about like making awarding a most popular Oscar. Are they doing
with that movie? No, they tried to with Black Panther, and they stopped it.
But it's this is again just like Coogler's run with those films. This is the kind of movie that they want that category to exist for, and it's the best kind of argument for a category like that.
Well, and I think we talked about movies that stuck with you thematically or just kind of blended into each other. But part of my method was to honor these movies. A movie this year that, like you said, should be on this list, and you can't deny its talent and its greatness. And it's just one of those where it might not be my favorite, but it deserves to be on this list.
No, you can't deny its charisma, and it's honestly, I think it just absolutely belongs on 2025 list. So I don't begrudge you having it there. Good choice. Number 9. So my number 9. This is kind of a controversial choice.
Ooh.
I mentioned the Sebastian Maniscalco abortion.
Is it War of the Worlds?
No, I just felt like it was important to do right by Bobby D. And so
no.
I'm going to go with The Alto Nights by Barry Levinson.
No, you're
9.
not.
No,
You're
I'm not
fucking
fucking
kidding
with
me.
you. I got
There's
you,
no
bitch.
way.
No, number 9 is, it was a hard movie to slot into my list. Number 9 is Marty Supreme, directed by Josh Safdie. There's a movie that I gave a bit of a hard time to this year about Jean-Luc Godard. And he has a quote that I've always loved about movies.
Nouvelle Vague.
Yes, that's the movie I'm referred to.
Yes.
He has a quote that I've always loved about movies, that movies are a beautiful fraud. And I think that this movie approximates the closest thing to a magic trick that I've seen in 2025. What do I mean by that? I think this movie's relevance might not really be immediately evident, but for me, the trick that this movie pulls off is the entire point. And the trick in question is, how, despite the wanton selfishness, the careless egotism, and like the shameless ambition of Marty Mauser, are we, the audience, able to keep rooting for him? That's the trick that this movie pulls off.
Did
can
you
we
find yourself rooting for him?
Yeah, but despite myself, you know what I mean?
See,
it's like
I
because how can you watch that movie and label him as anything but an antagonist when the film gleefully serves him up to us at his worst consistently?
Yeah, but just because they do that doesn't mean you have to root for him.
No, I know, but I found myself. I mean, and I think that you may not realize it, but I think that you probably did too. There are these scenes, these moments in the movie where, despite the machinations of his egotistical guile, you still want to see him succeed. You want to see him get one over on the ping pong players at the bowling alley. You want to see him steal back the dog from Penn Jillette.
Sure, but were you rooting for him to succeed so that the hijinks would continue, or would just up the stakes, or did you actually want him to succeed?
No, and you want the hijinks to come to an end for him to like collect himself. And honestly, just there's no easy answer to the question that the movie raises, but it is the question that makes the movie vital, I think, for right now. And it'll probably give the movie its staying power. It's also punctuated by really innovative framing, by Darius Khondji. It's got another sonically gleaming score by Daniel Lopatin, One-Othering's Point Never, and I love that guy's stuff. And the question for me is like, does this movie resonate or do anything other than great at like our forbearance as an audience in a reality where like a droopy, bronzed, barely human walking Fupa and his cadre of the world's shittiest fucking Bond villains aren't consistently doing exactly what Marty Supreme is doing in this movie? You know what I mean? I feel like this is a movie that it's just of this time. And I wonder if we are ever in a better state as a country, if we pull out of like the authoritarian tailspin, that we won't look back at a movie like this and just think that it's grating and irritating and like confusing. But I think because it is probing like what it means to root for an inherently bad person and a person with charisma that is good at being a bullshit artist, that is good at being a con artist, I think it's valuable just for that. So I don't know. I think it belongs on the list. I've seen in a lot of best of the year lists. I do wonder what joy people take from it. But when it was over, I thought to myself, how did they do that? You know what I mean? And I can't say that about a lot of films. Like I can see the artifice between a lot of movies. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I felt great about it or that I loved the experience.
But you saw the impact.
But I saw the impact and I see the craft. And I'm beginning to realize, especially after the crapping machine, that Josh might be the better or more talented of the two Safdies. But anyway, maybe Benny can pull it out. Anyway, that's number 9. It's Marty Supreme.
Well,
what's your number 8?
My number 8 is Marty Supreme.
Oh, look at you.
Frankie, coming out escape right now. Oh. I'm on a new level.
I have a purpose.
I won't stop now.
Finish that sentence.
Never living up to the top now. Marty Miser. Bing. Oh.
Come on, he's right here.
Marty Baller had to be a boss. Boy.
Come on, keep going. Imagine it. You're like a stick of dynamite.
Wow. You just Price Is Righted me.
Well, so there's a lot of similarities in why I chose it. So I saw it and I think it was higher on my list. It was higher on my list, and then I thought about it more. To me, this movie is a magic trick, not for the same reasons you're saying, but because I think that this movie it's like a muffin. There's a lot on top and not a lot on bottom. And I think that it's so provocative and raw that it slaps you in the face, and it impacts you in such a immersive way that you can't think about anything else. And then a week later, I was like, oh, I haven't thought about the movie at all. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't have its purpose and that it's not a good movie. But I think that there is a little bit of staying power, but I don't think that it's going to be something that sticks. And it is dealing with something that is a bit relevant today. It's dealing to me with this younger generation today that's unrelenting and needs to be seen and famous and is taking these opportunistic ways of just trying to get their name out there by any means necessary. It's the expectation that and the knowledge that you are, quote unquote, made for greatness without actually having done anything. And in the film, it kind of teeters with that. This character is saying he's great because he knows he's great, but he's not proving it all the time because he hasn't had the opportunity to prove it all the time.
I got the vibe that he doesn't actually believe it. And that's kind of like what made his...
I think he does.
I think he believes it sometimes. I think that he believes in his ability to sell himself. I think that he believes in his ability to land on his feet. Occasionally you see the film shake his confidence, and that's where like the similarities between some of the bullshit artists that are now in charge of everything kind of comes to the fore for me. I mean, he's fucking peak headset Elon Musk. I mean, he's every fucking con artist that thinks their shit doesn't stink, but has amazing, incredible.
But not only is he them though, he's every fucking TikToker that's out there. He's every fucking influencer. He's all those people too that.
But that's what those people are.
Yeah, and so I think
they're climbers. They want to be climbers, and they're wannabes essentially.
And so I think if there's anything that I can pull from this and its relevancy, it's that it's a mirror of our need even more now than in the past to reach fame or to reach some relevancy, as small as it is, as no matter how much you sacrifice, how much you lose yourself, and how much you hurt other people. It's kind of indicative of, I guess, if you want to call it the American dream.
Yeah.
Than anything. But at the end of the day, after that, it's kind of like...
Okay, well, so first of all, we have to address this right now. And this happens every time we do a top 10 list. You do this thing where if a movie is like low down on the list, you treat it like it's like a red-headed stepchild. And if the movie is on... I'm
saying it in comparison to the others.
If the movie's on your top 10 list, it means that you thought it was one of the best films of the year.
I agree. When I say these things, I'm comparing it to why it's not higher.
I just want to explain the tone of our discussion to our listeners who are going to be like, it sounds like they don't like this movie very much.
The good things about this movie are very good. I do agree that Josh Safdie might be the better Safdie.
I think that's fair to say. And I take what you're saying at face value. I mean, every victory that Marty Mauser has in the film is a Pyrrhic victory at best.
Well, and I think there's another trend in these movies that I've seen where there's a lot of tension and you're kind of on this ride throughout this whole movie. And I remember texting you right after and saying that I don't know why I expected a movie about ping pong to be the most stressful Safdie film.
Because it's not about ping pong.
But going in, I don't know that.
Sure,
I'm just like, oh, it's a movie about ping pong. And I went in and I thought I needed a heart monitor while I was watching it.
Yeah.
And everything that I'm saying should be countered with this movie is expertly made. It's Chalamet's best performance, which I've never been a huge fan of his.
That's interesting that you think that.
I think it's his most real performance to me. Mm-hmm. It's the most like unhinged he's been in a good way.
Well, it's allowing him to show the charisma that people have accused him of having his whole career, and
he has it. Yeah,
he does have it, and I think that we've seen glimpses of it. But I think you're right that he gets to unleash it.
Yeah, I think the other roles that he's been good in them, but it hasn't really unleashed him with his full potential.
Well, and I know that you're also a huge fan of Goop, and it's just important to see Gwyneth get back on screen. I also know that you're a big Shark Tank guy, and I know that fucking asshole actually, who does a great job in the film.
Yeah, it's disappointing to say that he's good.
Apparently that guy's a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I do think that it's a feat of filmmaking and you can't deny that.
Yeah.
I just think that there are some things there.
Like
that
Fran Drescher turns in a masterful performance.
Yeah.
in the movie.
Tyler, the creator, is great in it.
He's okay. Yeah, he's good in it. Yeah.
I'm also kind of sick of Modeza.
Well, but so
she's fine in it. But I watched I Love L.A. and I'm just sick of
that's
her.
why you're sick of it because and those see that show is framed incorrectly.
Yes.
Anyway, we're not going to get
sucks.
into a discussion of that show. Yeah,
we should later.
It definitely doesn't represent L.A. I'll put it that way. But the thing about her character that I love is, and we're going on this allegory of like the sycophants that are just hovering in the background, just trying to.
She'll
be
do
climbers.
anything for him,
just like
to the detriment of herself.
Timothy Chalamet is a TikTok whore. She is also a TikTok whore, but she's one whose social experiments don't work very well.
Yes.
That all is swirling in the back of Josh Safdie's brain while he's making this, and I think it makes for an interesting viewing. And I will say, for a 2.5 hour movie, I didn't look down at my watch once. And
Same. Also the just the shooting and the visual effects of the ping pong matches were great.
Yeah, no, and apparently, I started to read an article about like his involvement in training for all that, and then I realized that it's just about as important to me as the fucking story of Jamie Foxx learning to play the piano for Ray or whatever. It doesn't matter. But it is impressive if he learned to do it.
Maybe we're starting to match our picks now.
Well,
right?
yeah. I mean, I didn't. The way you were talking about it, I kind of expected it to either be like at the end of your list. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, it will age well and maybe on repeat viewings. I mean, the things with all.
Do you want to watch that again?
Well, that's what I was just about to say. I mean, with every Safdie movie, except for Good Time, which is also stressful, but for some reason, there's something about that film that makes it rewatchable to me. I have not rewatched Uncut Gems.
Pattinson's performance is a little bit more subtle than Sandler or Chalamet.
It's hard to say what makes it. I think that there's just the stakes are lower in that movie than maybe Uncut Gems or anything else. But yeah, no, it's a stressful film. But I don't know. It's also very funny. And if ever the pressure of living under the world's shittiest cadre of sycophants ever washes over us, then it'll be a good time to go back and revisit this and see what it actually means to us. All right, that's your number 8.
Number 8.
Good call. Okay, so my number 8 is a film that I thought would be much higher on my list.
Interesting.
But it doesn't mean that I don't think it's great. It's the most emotionally intelligent film of the year. My number 8 is, yeah, there's other values than emotional intelligence that I value. Speaking of value, some values are sentimental.
Ooh.
My number 8 is Sentimental Value, directed by Joachim Trier.
Why didn't you want to do the role? But he wanted you to do it.
I can't work with him. We can't really talk.
My father is a very difficult person.
Oh God, this is what we're doing with our trailers now. I can't. Cinema value. Listen, there's going to be a lot of people talking about this film for performances alone, and what can I say about the performances that won't be rung upon you at a fever pitch in the next, especially few months? Because I can guarantee you, if you don't know the name Renate Reinsve,
which he's great,
and you haven't had experience with Stellan Skarsgård, and you've been sleeping on Elle Fanning, and you don't know Ingna Isbader Lilias, you will in the next few months. I guarantee you those.
The next few weeks, yeah.
Next few weeks, yeah. I guarantee you those names are going to be in contention for awards that matter to the industry. Well, no, everybody cares about them to a certain extent.
No, you care about you. Oh, you don't care about the awards, but you care about the performances.
No, the performances are honestly what make it for me. Well, that's not true. It's not strictly about performance. Like I said, I think it's the most emotionally intelligent movie of the year.
I would agree with that.
I think it's, again, career performances for the cast of actors who are actively standing outside of the typical mode of cinematic production with this movie. I mean, I think that every actor to a person, except for maybe Elle Fanning, has said how they don't want to do Hollywood films anymore. And they weren't including this in that. You know, I think each one of these actors and actresses have had a hand in the last few years at doing kind of bigger properties for Hollywood, and it sounded like the experience of working on something like this disabused them of the need to ever do that again.
I mean, I would understand that. This movie's great.
The first thing that came to my mind when I saw this was, this is the movie that Jay Kelly wishes it could be.
Well, yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Absolutely.
And it's just a movie that conveys the complex relationships that are at the heart of the filmmaking process and how they can exploit and betray, but they can also heal. And I know that sounds cliche, and I apologize if that sounds like word art from a soccer mom's kitchen, but I think it's true about this film.
I think I saw it in your bathroom.
It's next to my Live, Laugh, Love. But no, I mean, it's just about how those relationships that are affected by a process like that are central to who we are. And it's a haunted movie. It's an emotional roller coaster. And I realize that's also a cliche saying. And
well, I think we both talked. I remember talking about this film briefly with each other, and we both said that it was a film that we both thought about days after seeing it.
To me, I think this is the most pointed look at what the filmmaking experience can mean as a gesture, I guess. Particularly the way that it affects the relationship between Skarsgård and Renée Sive, who plays Nora. And I also thought that there was like a real charm to the kind of exploits of Stellan kind of trying to adopt like a surrogate acting daughter in Elle Fanning's character. And I don't think I've ever seen a movie do anything like that before. I also think that, again, Ingna Isbader-Liljes, who people are going to be talking about for a while, I think that she is also going to get a lot of love in the next few years, if only just for this good filmmaking. Lower on the list, if only because I think that it is meandering film. I think that the performances are more impactful than maybe the screenwriting. There are a few exchanges that I don't necessarily believe, but those things are just very nitpicky. A lot of people are saying it's like the best of the decade. I think that's a bit of a hype train situation.
Best of the decade is.
But I would definitely revisit it. It's a warm blanket. It's a good film. That's Sentimental Value by Joachim Trier. It's my number 8. Let's move on to number 7, homie.
I can't say that it might or it might not appear later
on.
We
know what's happening.
My number 7 is a movie that I think is the first of a few that are going to touch on a different theme. What's going on in this country and this people that are on the fringes and people that have lost themselves or on the edge of society and feel unseen or unheard or are angry and are going down paths that they have led themselves or have been led. And
no, I have no clue what number 7 is going to be.
And my number 7 is Begonia.
Oh.
You have a dialogue, please?
Don't call it a dialogue. This isn't Death of a Salesman.
Okay, can we talk, please? Or are you just going to keep
doing...
doing...
We don't need to talk.
Yes, okay.
Because I know exactly what you're going to say. You're going to say that I'm in some kind of internet-induced, auto-hypnotic feedback loop and gatekeepers and norms and all that weak hegemonic horse shit. But that is precisely the limp dick rhetoric that you've been instructed to counter the human insurgency with. That's the fucking hyper-normalized dialectic by which you've convinced 7.5 billion people that they're not your captives. To keep us believing in these fucking false institutional fucking shibboleths.
You mean shibboleths?
That's what I said.
So, along the lines of Marty Supreme, this is a movie that was kind of a tense ride. There was a lot of movies that I saw that was more engaging. It was a very small film in the way that it's very limited locations. It's not a lot of cast, but it's almost like a play in itself, and it's just these actors at their top skill levels going at it. And I think that, I mean, Yorgos Lanthimos, we know him from his past movies like Poor Things and The Lobster and The Favorite, and he's been working with Emma Stone for the last, 4 movies, and so this was his last, and maybe for a while, his last movie with her. I think they're both kind of going to take a break. But
do you know that, or to be true?
I think he said it. I think he said it.
Interesting.
And I because he said he did 3 movies in 3 years and he's kind of tired. But Yorgos has obviously a knack for making movies that are uncanny and silly and raw and tense. And I think this movie kind of shows, at least in this country, and I think probably beyond it, the worst in people, but also kind of explains it a little bit. It exposes the situation we live in, the conspiracy fringes, and does it in a way that's still kind of, I don't want to say silly, but in a softer lens. It uses this framework that's kind of out there to kind of get this meaning across. It does pull some punches in a little bit, especially towards the end. But I do think that it leans on, like I said, the fringe of this country, the fringe of a population that is against this tech and this capitalist side, that they feel like they're being taken advantage of or abused, and how that pushes both sides to their worst. And I think that I thought the ending, I know people that aren't really crazy about the ending, I thought it stuck it for a movie that halfway in, I didn't know how it was going to end. It was a tightly buttoned up film that leaned into something that is uncomfortable and pressing and urgent about what is happening in our country now. And I appreciated it, even if it got a little silly at times.
Well, I think it's interesting that you bring up the ending, because I think there's too much gravity placed on the ending for this movie. And that's not to suggest that the ending doesn't have anything interesting to say or that it's not running an interesting experiment. I just think that like the ending is so much more symbolic than it is actually literal, or I just think it's so much more figurative than it is actually trying to be about what those characters go through. I think that you're right about this film, though. I think that it's exposing a truth about shit poster culture. And I think there are 3 films that we discussed off mic that might spoil some of the films that could come up a little bit later, so I won't mention them. But there are 3 particular films that are doing a very similar thing this year, steeping you in shit poster culture and the ways that misinformation are more of a disease than they are a political process.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm trying to express too, and I think it's true in the movies that I think you're talking about, is that you almost feel bad for Plemons in this, because he goes down this rabbit hole, but you understand how he could have gotten there.
Oh, at the very least, you feel bad for one of the 2 of that crew.
Sure, but like you understand how all these characters got to the point that they're at.
And maybe you see a part of people in your own social situation in his character as well.
And I think
it's hard not to, right?
And I think that some films lean into that and make it super uncomfortable. And we might be talking about those soon.
Yeah.
And I think this movie, while it does have scenes where it does push you to kind of confront that, it still doesn't push you as much as maybe some other films have.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an interesting choice. I think it's a return to form for Yorgos for me. I'm glad that he made it. I did not like Kinds of Kindness. It's probably a good thing that he steps away from Emma Stone, not because she doesn't do great work with him. She does incredible work with him. And Poor Things is an amazing film. So is The Favorite.
And she's great in this.
And she's quite good in this. But I think that I want to see him explore themes more than I want to see him be an actor's director. And which is not to say that he's not capable of both, but I like the direction that this is going in for his career.
You're on number 8 or number 7?
This is number 7, bish.
Wow.
So my number 7, I'm just going to say it right now, it's the sexiest movie of the year.
Wait, let me guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I put it on me. What do you got?
Go ahead and guess.
Now, I mean, my Eddington. There it is.
Oh, wow. Listen, I've seen some hammer dung in my time. Okay.
Oh, it's
I've seen
28 years later.
I've seen a hatchet. I've seen a hatchet being twirled at me visually in certain films. No. When I say sexy, I mean it by the essence of the meaning. My number 7 is an underperforming film from early in the year called Black Bag, Steven Soderbergh.
Most of NCSC is 25-year-olds. They were just mucking around trying to zero their central router. They didn't know it would brick the whole system.
Wait, Syria 2012? That was you? That was us?
I don't know. I don't work on that side of the house.
That op was tight. I read that string. It's a very sexy piece of code.
It was all fine till little Eddie Snowden decided to call everybody out, say it was a fuck-up. It shut Assad's ass right down, didn't it?
How many civilians died as a result?
Greater good.
Yeah, I don't find amorality attractive.
Then give up either your profession or your sex life.
I give it 2 weeks.
Optimistic.
Did you get hell from oversight?
Nothing I couldn't handle.
Oh, please. The committee fucked with Catherine exactly once. Half of them lost their assignments.
Because that's what bad bitches do.
So,
and boy, Mikey Fassbender and Tom Burke.
What a sexy fucking movie, man. Am I right? Am I right? Or
You're right. I totally
right?
forgot about this one. And
you forgot?
Well, I did see it on a list or two, and it's
earlier in the year. It's very early.
I do enjoy this movie.
It's the first movie that I think I saw in 2025. To me, it's just evidence that the intrigue and mystique that fans of this genre used to only find in guys like John le Carré or Mick Herron or
Ian Fleming.
Graham Greene or Ian Fleming Fleming's a little bit more campy, but yeah, they have a future cinematically at least in trusted Hollywood stalwarts like Soderbergh and David Koepp, who's having a fucking year, by the way. And I don't always appreciate his output, but this is just a propulsively enjoyable intrigue with a power couple at the center of it. And that's really unique for this genre. I love the married couple dynamic that this paints a portrait of. It's also surrounded by an imperturbable performers, just like you heard, just a who's who. I'll just go like Tom Burke, Regé-Jean Page, Naomi Harris, Pierce Brosnan. Everybody's great in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently Koepp and Soderbergh did Kimmy, which I never saw. Apparently that was it
was good.
That was a COVID
I enjoyed it.
darling. But it really makes me just want to go back and steep myself in more of their work together because it's really whip smart. It's a shame that this was not a massive success because I would kill or at least clandestinely drone strike to see the further exploits of Cate Blanchett and Fassbender. I would say it's a return to form for Soderbergh, but he's such an experimenter that it's hard to say he ever deviated from what makes him great.
No, he just chooses to go away from form.
That's right. But I love this film, man. I think it's just a bit of fun. It's a little shallow, but who cares?
I think this is a good example of going with a different corner of what makes a film good. Hell of a movie.
I also think it's just one of those movies that like people are going to remember and they're going to slowly come back around to. I think it's like a movie that's going to like get rental money
or like streaming money. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's move on to number 6.
Not a bad choice. Okay, my number 6 is, again, it's leaning into the same themes that Begonia hit, but I think it's hitting it a little bit harder. My number 6 is Eddington.
Nice.
What are you even doing in there? It's takeaway drinks only.
Those are town council members. That's essential business.
Well, you can't just call essential business whatever you want.
It's a city council meeting wherever city council people congregate. It's the mayor's office if I'm inside.
Okay, then you are open. And you have a paying customer who's trying to...
He's aggressive, he's dangerous, he needs to be locked up.
Where would you have me send him? These are your streets.
No, they're your streets, Sheriff. They're your streets to keep safe. And where is your mask?
Nice.
So this is a movie that you had been asking me to watch for a long time. And so I finally got to it last week.
Yeah.
And I remember texting you after and just saying how unhinged it was. Not in a bad way.
No, it's a good word for it. It's a good word for it.
But I think much like Begonia, it exposes the edges of society and set in a time specifically that I think a lot of us, like I was watching this, and even though 2020 and the pandemic is not too far off, it's a time that I think that we're very uncomfortable watching and dealing with and observing and kind of reflecting on.
This mother just drank all my Bip and Tucker.
And I think that at times it might be a little bit on the nose, but I think that it's on purpose, and I think there's a reason for that. I think that it's forcing us to remember, and it's forcing us to face these situations that we were in, and kind of what led to where we are now. It thrusts the mirror in our face and shows our hypocrisy in a way that I think we're embarrassed to admit at times. It's teetering between saying everyone is flawed and bad, because I think that there's not really a good character per se in this movie, but it's saying that that's what makes us human. And it's difficult and unhinged to watch, but I respect that it understands its purpose and it's trying to show that to us. And also...
Sexiest film of the year.
Yes. I will say, I think it has the best needle drop of the year.
Oh, actually, that's interesting. What is it?
It's the Tops song, I Feel Alive, in the bar scene.
Oh, yeah, good call.
I think that all respect to Marty Supreme, I think that needle drop is the most seamless and most standout to me.
I forgot about it, but I think you're right. I loved Eddington. How much can you love any Ari Aster film? I'll say this. Of any comedy of the year, and there were some good ones, only one film made me laugh harder than Eddington. Mm-hmm. And maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't. But
this movie kept creeping up too. It started low and it kept sticking with me.
There's something annoying about the way people talk about this film, and they keep describing it as pastiche. A pastiche isn't just a combination of elements that equal into a thing. A pastiche is just an imitation of something. And this is Ari Aster imitating a number of tropes from Western genre. making them into his own in a, I think, fairly ingenious way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think there's so much that you can say about this movie.
I think,
One of the, you just mentioned Begonia. I talked about 3 films that I think are kind of doing the same thing this year.
Mm-hmm.
One of those 3 films is also Eddington. It's going to be worth dissecting and revisiting.
I was going to say, I
think
think you talked about a film that is going to be of the moment and one that people revisit in years beyond this. I think this film is going to be that one.
Right, which is hard to do. It's hard to be of the moment and also also
it's a time
age as well.
It's a time capsule
and hilarious one. And also we get to see Joaquin Dong.
Forgot about
we get to see Joaquin get slapped around as an invalid. Great axe play. No, I just think it's I know this is going to sound really pretentious. It's just pure intellectual indulgence and entertainment, while also being fairly accessible somehow. A good choice. That was your number 6?
That was my number 6.
Okay. Number 6 for me was, this is a filmmaker that I poo-poo a lot.
Poo-poo.
I poo-poo.
Oh, I know exactly who it is.
And I was a little bit too hard on one of his films this year. And he probably deserves a little bit of reprieve from my poo-pooing. But my number 6 was the other film that was not mentioned, and that's Screed. And that's Blue Moon by Richard Linklater.
We write together for a quarter of a century. And the first show he writes with someone else is going to be the biggest hit he ever had. Am I bitter, Larry? Yes.
For over 20 years, Hart and his partner Richard Rodgers created a string of hits.
I want 10 copies of that.
Write me a check. Such as My Funny Valentine, The Lady is a Tramp, and Blue Moon.
Your work is brilliant. That's not the problem.
No, I'm not drinking with you, Larry. They should put my picture on that bottle. The whiskey that made Lorenz Hart unemployable.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm sorry, Rich. I'm sorry, Dickie Link.
Do you hear that, Linklater?
I'm sorry, Dick Link.
Said it.
I've had a complicated relationship with the work of Richard Linklater. I think when he's at his best,
old Dick Linklater,
he has a lot to say. I think that the Before series is obviously quite seminal. I think that School of Rock is a good piece of work. I think that a lot of his films are self-indulgent, hangout vibe shit that need...
Just for the record, you did not like Nouvelle Vague.
No, but that's what I was referring to. I was too hard on that film.
Oh, really?
I think so. My problem with Nouvelle Vague is it's unclear who it's for and why he's making it.
Yeah, it's just for people who love film.
Yeah, but he wants to vibe with creators, and that's clear.
I'm digressing you.
No. But I think that it's worth mentioning in a discussion of Blue Moon because he's doing the same thing, and he's done it twice this year, and that's impressive. The first time he does it was Godard, and it's clear that he wants to say something about the spirit of French New Wave filmmaking, but I think that film is unfocused, but that it's got a lot of good qualities. I was turned off by the things that it gets wrong or that it's doing in a grating way. This movie didn't do that for me, and I was prepared for it to because...
Yeah, this is a movie that, honestly, I did not think you would like.
Well, so first of all, without going too far down a rabbit hole, to me, I generally want the movies in my top 10 movies of the year to reflect cinematic processes. And this is a movie that could easily have been a play. But this movie is higher up on my list than some other movies I think are more competently made technically, because I think it's probably one of the best performances of the year.
Yes.
From a performer.
If not the best.
Yeah, very, very possible. From a performer who I don't usually lend that much credence to. And I also do think that this movie is cinematic in ways that are hard to parse. While this could easily have been a play, which is suitable for the material, I also think the claustrophobia of that set, the set being of this bar, which is a who's who of different creatives who kind of meander in and out of it, creates for an interesting examination of the inversion of a person's career, where one career is catering and the other one is skyrocketing. This movie raises the point that it's relevant to ask when it's okay to let go of your creative collaborators and what, if anything, you owe them, if you've already forged an identity with that person, or indeed a brand, which is like so, such a fucking catch-all for this year, And I think this is an interesting object that's looking at what it looks like when one person realizes what they can do to create their brand and the other person is stuck in the mode of being the capital A artiste. But the performance is so good. There's a roving cast of characters that I really enjoyed. I even like Bobby Cannavale in this movie, which is hard to do.
Yep.
And it harkens back to a lot of great music. This is a movie that I feel like I can rewatch from this year. One of the few movies I feel like I'll be able to rewatch from this year. And even though it's a bit of a bummer, I feel like it's going to be kind of a bit of a comfort food.
Yeah.
Because it is entertaining on top of all that. Again, like I said at the top of this, I want my list to be representative every year. And I think that this is the film that's representative of the best performance, or at least the best male-led performance, which is hard to say because there have been some good ones. That's my number 6, Blue Moon, Richard Linklater.
Not a bad choice.
So number 5. So now we're getting into the meat. Number 5. This is where the fucking rubber meets the road.
All right, so I think that with this one, we're heading into another theme that I've had across these movies, which is...
There have been some themes tonight.
We're leaving, for the most part, maybe, the theme of our society and the fringes and kind of where we are in our country now.
Interesting.
And we're heading into more trauma-based impacts that people go through.
Oh, okay.
And the ups and downs. And so with that, my number 5 is Train Dreams.
Oh.
There were once passageways to the old world. And even though that old world is gone, you can still feel the echo of it. We just cut down trees that have been here for 500 years. Every thread we pull affects the design of things.
Don't you think it's too much?
What if you got nothing left to give?
Wow.
So you want to talk about a fucking haunting film?
Must we?
This one stuck with me for days. And it's not doing anything that's necessarily groundbreaking. First off, I have not seen Sing Sing, which I believe this is the same director.
I love Sing Sing.
So I know you were a fan. I have not seen it, but this film to me was a simplistic film and not one that I think that Netflix would make. Its message is very human and timeless. And while it's not super extravagant, it's meaningful and relatable. And I think that it does deal with a little bit of kind of the forgotten fringes of people in our society and our past, but it deals with legacy, it deals with tech, it deals with the cycle of life and kind of the unrelenting force that we live in and the chance and the kind of unfolding of each of our lives. Stylistically, it's very reminiscent of the assassination of Jesse James to me. It has the overarching narrator. It has this kind of simplistic, very beautiful cinematography. And I think that it's surprisingly hopeful and celebratory in a way. Everything has a purpose in its message, from the smallest character to the biggest character. Just very beautiful in just kind of how it transcends time is what I was looking for. And it's very... Joel Edgerton's never been better. And I think that it's just a very heartbreaking story of this man who feels like he is searching for a purpose, finds it, is lost, and is trying to rediscover who he is, why he exists, and why everything around him exists and is the way it is. It lastly deals with a lot of trauma and a lot of guilt and a lot of moving past certain obstacles and just living life and enjoying the good and the bad and the in-between times. And I think that it really stuck with me. And I can't say enough about this film.
I'll be honest, I didn't expect this movie to be on your list. I loved Train Dreams. It not only just the things that you mentioned, but I don't think it is actually that dispirited from some of the themes that we've already visited. It's about labor relations in this country and the way that big business is quick to treat the backbone of the people that build great things in this country as disposable in more than one way. It's about the way that the sins of industry can tattoo themselves to you psychologically. There's a very haunting image that Joel Edgerton is like struggling with throughout the movie.
Well, I think that's super interesting because I don't disagree with you. I think it's definitely doing all of that. But what stuck with you was that stuff. And
listen.
No, I'm not saying that you didn't see those other things. But what I'm saying is that this film is doing a lot.
No, I do. I think people have described it as Malikian, Terrence Malick.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very apt. But honestly, we talked about Reichardt earlier. There's another movie that takes place in the PN dub that was widely celebrated much more than this film. Well, actually, this film's getting its due. But
lately it is, which is good.
But that's First Cow. I like this film a lot. I'm glad to see it on your list. That was number 5.
That was number 5. Right? So Cinco for you.
Train Dreams.
Cinco por two.
Interesting. No, wasn't it one prepared to?
Wow, how dare you judge me like that?
Well, I did. It's also, it's a Netflix film, and it's interesting when a movie is direct to streaming. It's hard to know how to process it.
It's one of those where Netflix was marketing the crap out of it around town, and they're not necessarily going to do that unless they think they have a winner on it.
Well, and I also don't trust that.
And Joel Edgerton's always good, so I trust that.
Yeah, usually, but I also just don't trust that Ma and Pa Kettle out in bumfuck Iowa are ever going to see this movie, and I think that's going to get buried, unfortunately, because it's Netflix. Because in the future, let's say, I don't know, a certain big company merges with a Netflix or a company like it. What happens to the theatrical release window for a movie like this? Oh, that doesn't exist.
17 days.
Shit. This is a movie that deserved its place in the fucking
I wish I would have saw this
theater
in a movie.
Circuit. Yeah,
in a movie theater. I wish I saw it in a movie theater.
It's a complicated relationship that I have with it, but I like it a lot.
Number 5.
Okay, well, so this one I have no clip for good reason. This is a movie that I've seen cracking other people's lists, but I was fortunate enough to see a screening of it earlier in the year, and then it kind of went by the wayside, and I'm glad that the current top 10s of the year are reflecting how interesting it was. My number 5 is It Was Just an Accident, directed by Jafar Panahi.
I've seen this on a lot of lists, and it is an omission of mine because I have not seen it.
Iranian filmmakers are going for it, man. And
can you just give a quick background? This guy did it without the approval or like the acknowledgement of the government, right?
So Jafar Panahi had been in prison in Iran for making subversive, or at least so-called subversive films in the past, and recently decided to make this movie loosely, tangentially related to his experiences there and the horrors that he fucking witnessed there, and had to do so in a clandestine way. Had to kind of sneak pages of the script to his actors, had to film in secret.
Wild.
And as this movie has been making the awards rounds, Iran has decided that he's a public menace, and he's now going to be going back to prison when he goes back to Iran, and he is going back to Iran. So, and it's interesting, we play coy with what's at stake with our democracy, or what we used to have as a democracy. And when you read about the process of making this film, that should really be what's impressed upon you when you look upon the current environment that I would say thrive under, but we don't thrive under. That is at our back at any given time. And that's actually a useful phrase for this film, because this is a movie about people that were imprisoned, and after years of torment at the behest of a certain prison, one of the characters in this film recognizes who he thinks is one of their former captors / torturers, and undertakes a quest, as it were, involving other people who may have been under the boot of this same villain, and undertakes the task of killing this person. But he's not quite sure that it's the guy. Mm-hmm. And there's a very specific narrative device that they use to identify whether or not this character is, in fact, the villain that they have built up in their mind. And a lot of it is because they were tortured in the dark and they were blindfolded and things like this. And this actually sounds like a really oppressive film, the way I'm describing it. It's actually not. It's very light. It's funny at times. But it's interesting to hear the director talk about his experience of like touring the world with it. There were places where audiences would laugh that were just completely foreign to him, and then places where the audience should probably have taken some enjoyment from the craft and were horrified. For example, at a certain point, the cast of characters that are endeavoring to exact punishment on their former tormentor get tangled up with his family and end up, without spoiling anything, end up helping some members of that family out in a difficult situation. And people were laughing at that in Western audiences. And Jafar Panahi told this story about how his prison got hit by a fucking missile. And a number of his captors were buried under the rubble, and, the inmates helped pick them out. And hearkening back to this section in the film where this main cast of characters is going out of their way to do a service to the people that have tormented them, or that been in there, created this world of pain for them. And it's just this cultural difference where doing a kindness is just a cultural mainstay for the Iranian people. And it's a side of life we don't get to see in the West very much. But it's also just an eminently entertaining movie. The last 15 minutes of the film are just they're just going to fucking tattoo themselves into your brain. It's out now for streaming. I think this movie is going to get its love. I think it will be. I don't know if it's allowed to be an entrant in the international category for any of the big award shows, but it got its love at Cannes. It just got love at Gotham. And again, when the director goes home, and he is planning on going home, he'll be back in prison. It's quite good. It was just an accident. That's my number 5.
I have not seen it, but I've seen it on several lists, and it's one that will be on my list to watch after this.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Lay your number 4 on this.
Number 4 is one that has been mentioned, and it is Blue Moon. This movie, it was just a lot of fun.
So this is your number 4. Interesting. This is very high up.
This is my number 4. Yeah. This is the only movie that I watched this movie twice, back to back.
Okay.
I put it on right after because I enjoyed it so much. I thought Ethan Hawke's performance was so good.
He's having a fucking year, ain't he?
He's having a fucking hell of a time performing here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of explore this performance and explore what he was talking about again and kind of just sit with it. And like you said, it's weirdly a comfort movie and weirdly a movie that you kind of just want to hang out with.
Yeah.
We talked about all these movies and the method of why we picked these. And to me, this movie was an old school Hollywood awards fodder movie, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
It is a play. It's like you're watching a play, and like any great play, you're watching these great performances. You mentioned Bobby Cannavale, who I really don't like, and he's good in it. Everybody is popping off in this. And I think that it's just, this movie is so well made in a way that it doesn't have any fat in it. It's so trim. It's so precise.
Sure.
It's so... It knows what it's doing, and it's doing it right. And I think that it's very straight to the point. It's talking about a very complex character who you don't want to root for, but you also want to root for. And even besides that, you just want to see what he talks about. And I think that it's really captivating in a lot of ways that it's doing, in ways that you wouldn't think, especially in 2025. I couldn't stop watching it. And
the 2 times you watched it, you couldn't stop watching.
Well, I just,
no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. And once it ended, I just kind of wanted to be on the ride again.
We're also drinking right now, guys, so we're going to be much less eloquent than we were at the top of the show.
Yes.
But no, I know exactly what you mean. We've both neglected to mention other than Bobby Cannavale, there's a whole host of characters here that are doing great work. I mean, Andrew Scott's really
good. Yeah, he's great.
Quali is fine.
She might be the weak part of the movie, but she's not terrible.
And I hate to single her out because, she's like the one major female lead in the film, but I really like Patrick Kennedy in it, who plays E.B. White.
Yeah.
I was talking about how a movie like this, I want my list to be representative, but a movie like this isn't necessarily super cinematic.
No.
But the thing about it that is, and the reason why I think it works as a film and not just a play, right, is because you want to be intimately up close with these characters. So like you want to be in the booth with Lawrence Hart, played by Ethan Hawke.
But also you watch this movie, and just like with a play in the stage direction, the cinematography has purpose. There's purpose, and everything is pinpoint, and there's a reason for it. And it might feel a little dull, but it's not.
Yeah. No, I think that the camera kind of emulates a spotlight in this film. So there's a lot of very slow focus pulling, not unlike the way you would see maybe a roving spotlight on a stage play. You can see that, for example, in there's a good character. I'm not sure if we get a name, but who's just playing the piano the whole night.
Oh, what's he? Knuckles? He calls him Knuckles.
Maybe that's it. But not unlike so many other characters in the film, and it just underscores so much of Lawrence Hart's pain in the film. He really only wants to meet Richard Rodgers, and that's so heartbreaking, but also so entertaining in its own way. But you also want to be, and what makes the cinematic element of this important? You want to be able to follow Lawrence Hart as he follows that guy into the bathroom, and you want to be able to have a scene with Ethan Hawke and Margaret Qualley in a coat rack.
Is there
room.
another character in any movie that we've seen this year where you're kind of on pins and needles on what this guy's going to say? Maybe Marty Mauser, but.
You're definitely concerned about him putting his foot in his mouth, but you also get the sense very quickly that he knows how to play the game. It's interesting to compare like a Marty Mauser and Lawrence Hart, because Ethan Hawke's character is aware of how to pull the strings and manipulate, but he can do it subtly, and he can do it. He's an intelligent person.
But it still also doesn't work.
That's true. Well, it works to a degree, but the difference between those two characters
Not in
is
that way, as he would say.
Both characters can't get out of their own way, but Lawrence Hart can't get out of his own way because he's stuck in a truth. He's stuck in an intelligent mode of making art. It's just that it's not what the public wants anymore. You know, Richard Rodgers has figured out, he has captured the zeitgeist, a phrase we like to use on this show a lot, and he is partnered with somebody that maybe is not quite the talent, certainly not as intellectually gifted as Lawrence Hart, but has the chops to deliver what mass audiences want.
Yeah.
And seeing a person who's not only confronted with their own intelligence not being enough, but also battling with their demons at the same time, and being a queer person in a particularly difficult time to do that. It makes for a really interesting, I guess you'd call it a character study, but I think that would be diminishing. I think this movie's more than that.
That's my number 4, though.
I wasn't sure if you'd even seen it. We haven't talked about it, so good choice.
We're on your number 4.
Okay. I mean, I'll just get right to it. We talked about cramming, and there was a lot of cramming in the last couple of weeks. There was a movie that just kept coming up,
kept cramming
on every goddamn list, for, at least of the people that I trust. At the number 1 for many of these lists, and might eventually sit higher on this list if I were into revisiting lists, which I'm not. Would be a film I saw just a matter of days ago, and was lucky enough to see it with one other person in an otherwise completely empty theater. My number 4 is The Secret Agent, directed by Kleber Mendonça Filho, a Brazilian film about a political refugee, a long film. Yeah. A film
really fucking long.
Well, I don't want to say that. I mean, I didn't notice the time. Well, that's not true. I did notice.
I was going to say there was the second thing you said about
it. There were a few lulls, and there were a few gratuities that the filmmaking takes, and that's probably why it's not higher on the list. There are a few things that it's doing that are a little bit gratuitous, but that gratuity is what makes it interesting. And honestly, my biggest gripe with it, and the thing I'm still wrestling with, is a framing device. And I'm not going to spoil how the movie ends. The movie jumps around in time and does so to interesting effect, not necessarily super intuitive, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't smart choices. But what's amazing about this movie is that despite its running time, it really moves. It's super propulsive. I'll be goddamned if Wagner Moura isn't incredible in it. I mean, it's just a cast of characters that are, everyone feels lived in. It's not an oppressive film despite its content. I mean, it's about a political refugee, without going into spoilers, who is sort of on the run and is trying to leave the country with his son. The political machinations of the country are at odds with him for a certain reason. And he's basically on the run from 2 hitmen who have a charisma of their own. But every single character in this film just feels like they were plucked off of the street and given real motivations that you absolutely believe. And the other thing is, this is a fun movie somehow. Despite its content, it's got a lot of levity to it. It's got a lot of kind of experimental filmmaking. And sometimes movies, especially foreign movies that are about the oppressive regimes that have stoked the fires of their creativity, can get really wrapped up in being a history lesson. And this movie is not really interested in doing that. It's about northeast, I guess, Brazil in the middle of Carnival. It sets an amazing tableau for this subversive movie about a very, very charismatic protagonist. And everybody in this film is haunted by phantoms, and yet there's a levity to it. You don't ever quite know where it's going to go. It drops hard truths on you very quickly and randomly. It reminded me of a Soderbergh film in a lot of ways, but I feel like that's being diminutive to the filmmakers that were involved here. I think that it's a beast all its own. Kleber Mendonça Filho is a name that I'm going to be looking out for, even if I can't pronounce it very well. Again, it's because I had to cram it. I don't know quite where to put it, but 4 feels right. You know, there were moments where I was aware of the editing and the pacing, but I was never bored, and I kind of wanted more. In fact, I really wanted more, which is, again, maybe part of the reason.
Calm down.
When I say that, you'll understand when you see the film,
which I will.
What I mean by that. It's one that I also recommend catching in theaters, and I think that it will still hang out there for a while, because I don't know. it was clear that this was not a film that's being distributed by any of the major.
I think it's in limited release right now.
It is, but it's here in LA. It's probably in most major cities. I think it is getting wider and hanging around indie theaters for a little while longer. And honestly, yeah,
17 days.
I really fucking enjoyed having a almost solo experience watching this thing. But I'd be interested.
You were
to
even
see.
willing to text me during the theater, you said.
Well, I stood up and stretched and shit, because it was, and that was nice. It's nice to be able to do that. But that being said, this is also a movie that I would really be interested to see what it would be like to watch it with a packed theater, because I think that would also be a special experience. Anyway, quite good. The Secret Agent. What a picture.
Well, I am going to see it. It was one, like I said, that I tossed and turned between my last viewing before we recorded. But I chose to go with my number 3.
Well, isn't this interesting?
Which was Hamnet.
Hamnet?
Who are you looking for?
William Shakespeare.
Tell me a story.
What story would you like?
Something that moves you.
Will you be brave?
Yes.
Will you be brave?
He lives not.
Okay, before you go into Hamnet, let me ask you, I want to ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
Is the marketing, and I mean this sincerely, this is a sincere question, is the marketing doing a disservice to this film?
Yes.
A.
Yes.
B, is there a scene?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen this film. I've only seen the trailer. And I hope, if I get this right, it's going to knock points off the movie for me. But be honest. Is there a scene where they're doing Hamlet for the first time?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming Paul Mescal's playing Hamlet?
No.
Oh, okay. Is there a scene where, I'm sure they play Hamlet for the first time, and while they are, and if this is a huge spoiler, just say I decline to answer. But while they're playing Hamlet for the first time, because we know that their stupid kid dies, is there a scene where, like, while he's doing like the to be or not to be speech,
or while the actor,
while the actor is doing
Hamlet,
somebody who knew the dead kid is having a flashback of, so he goes to be, and it's like a shot of the kid alive.
It's
not to be, and then like the kid in the coffin. Okay, good. That's good to know. Okay,
happily no,
okay.
That is not happening.
So okay, please expound on your love for this film, because it's number 3. That's pretty high.
So this movie was one that I kind of avoided because of the marketing, because it was, from what I've read, it was a lot of, yes, your beer's over there.
Beer here.
Because I've heard it was just grief porn.
Yeah,
and while I am fine with an emotional film, I don't want to just watch a bunch of depressed people for 2 hours.
That's very interesting, because I have a feeling about a different film that might become on my list, but that's neither here nor there.
I went to see this because it was on so many lists, and people that I trust had said that this was a good movie, and that I couldn't,
everybody's saying.
Well, and I couldn't, in their opinion, have a top 10 without at least seeing it. So I chose to see that over The Secret Agent. And I am a crier in movies, and I cried through this whole fucking thing.
But let me ask you a question about that, because
that's not a pretense for liking a movie.
No. But that's a valuable rubric. Here's my question: is this movie making you cry because it's emotionally manipulative?
No, and that's what I'm going to get to. Is that this movie is raw in its filmmaking, and I don't know that I've watched Chloe Zhao's other films. I'm
really
trying to remember. No. And I didn't see No Man Land. I didn't see the one before.
I didn't see The Rider. I like The Rider.
And so, but from what I've heard, she's very, this is the type of filmmaking she does. It's very raw. It's very emotional. It's very observant, but it's very intimate. And so the storytelling is told through all of these characters through observing from afar. There's a lot of silence that does a lot of storytelling where the dialogue doesn't. There's a lot of nature here. There's a lot of intimacy through nature and through kind of these characters. All the characters are smart. The performances are smart. Everybody but Jessie Buckley.
What do you mean by that?
Everybody but Jessie Buckley, they're smartly written, I should say. Jessie Buckley is the centerpiece of this, and she is just chef's kiss in this. Like, she's phenomenal in this movie. But she's untamed. She's connected with all these different parts of the earth. She's kind of this.
Do you mean by design?
By design.
Okay.
She's this. I haven't read the book. I don't know about his wife or anything, but she's this character who is kind of one with the earth and kind of a wild card. And it could be played in a very kooky way, in a very like woo-woo type of way, but it's not. It's very human. It's very relatable.
What makes you say that it's not? Because knowing Chloe Zhao, I really like the writer.
Yeah.
I had my beef with Nomadland, and part of it was because it treated a blue collar working person like they had never experienced society before.
This character is on the fringes in a way, but what brings her in is her love and her family. And when tragedy hits, you see how she deals with it in comparison to him and in comparison to everyone else.
By him, you mean Paul Mescal.
Yes, who plays Shakespeare. And this deals with this and in doing so, it deals with the common theme of love and life and loss and heightens it. It narrows it into, obviously, Shakespeare's story. But the thing is, this movie doesn't lean on Shakespeare at all. It's more about a family drama. It's more about the human condition than it is, this is Shakespeare's story.
So I got a sense that the writing of Hamlet, or the conception of it, was integral to that plot.
It is, but you don't feel like this is a Shakespeare story. You feel like this is a Jessie Buckley family story. And I think that much like Train Dreams, it's hitting on elements of life and growth, happen chance, and just kind of the cycle of life. Uncontrollable factors that hit these characters, and they can't control it, and it's just kind of how they're in tune with this earth and how it treats them. And I think that technically, you've talked about Chloe Zhao before. It's top notch. The sound design and the cinematography especially are very leaps above anything else in this film. A common theme is spoken through these devices, and I don't want to spoil it because it's really part of it. And I think that there's some choices that are I do think are a little bit corny in a way. And that's kind of why it drops down to 3. Like you've said, 3 out of 10 is very high. But I do think that this film doesn't pander to the audience. It touches on things in a relatable and real way. And it doesn't say like, my kid died, you're just going to cry for 2 hours.
But you said you said you were a wreck throughout.
But but it's because
is it because you're just confronted with hard truths?
It's how these characters deal with grief. It's how they deal with loss. They're not just, my kid died, I'm crying, and so you cry. It's how you take this loss and how you push forward through life and how that affects you in ways that you don't see. And you do learn their backgrounds, you do learn how they meet, and that informs how they deal with stuff in the future and how they deal with trauma. And I think that that's the biggest difference with this, other than like a kid tragically drowns or whatever, and you deal with loss.
Spoiler!
And he doesn't drown. Spoiler! But I didn't expect to be as strongly hit as I was.
But so Jessie Buckley...
She's great.
Is the star of the show for you.
Yes, absolutely. But I have one last note on this.
Yeah.
Emily Watson's in this, and Emily Watson is always good in everything.
Mostly, yeah.
I was thinking of this in sports terms. Is there an actress?
I love a good sports analogy with my films.
Is there an actor who has a higher
batting
WAR than Emily Watson? So if you add Emily Watson or remove her from a movie,
no, I know what you mean by war. I know what you mean by war. But for the non-sports people, WAR means wins above replacement. It's a stat that calculates just how valuable a person is to your team.
So
so you're saying that Emily Watson's got a high WAR. She always adds
add
value.
her to a movie, it ups that value. And if you replace her with somebody in that same role, it wouldn't be as effective.
I can think of places where she doesn't bring that much value, but I mean, she's an absolute talent. There's just no denying that she is an absolute presence. That being said, she has been a bit absent from the old silver screen,
which was refreshing to see her on this. And I guess.
But what I mean, is a spoiler to say what her role is?
She's Shakespeare's mother.
Okay.
I think she's just a solid backbone of the character. She has a lot of growth in this role of somebody who is part of a higher end of society and doesn't see things the way that her son does or her daughter-in-law does, and comes around, and there's nuance to her performance. But I think...
But I mean, we talked about this film, we talked about how the marketing isn't serving it. It feels like they're pushing the period piece angle very strong. You know, it seems like we're going to see Noah Jupe have bad time. It seems like we're really steeped in Paul Mescal's character.
I think Jessie Buckley's performance and her stature in the film itself and her presence in the film is completely undersold.
Okay.
But I also don't know how else you would sell this movie without leaning more towards Mescal and Shakespeare.
I think you're right about that.
While Mescal is good, he's not the pivotal character.
That's what that's why I'm asking, because you were saying that he's kind of taking a background to Jessie Buckley or even Emily Watson.
Well, and part of that is the story that they're trying to tell with the character, but I think Shakespeare it's interesting to see the impact on that, but this is really about his wife.
Listen, I like a movie that has the capacity to move me, and I was moved by The Rider, not so much by Nomadland. Obviously, The Elementals is the best Marvel.
The Eternals?
Yes.
You loved it so much.
Obviously, The Eternals is the best Marvel. But you know what? I do think it's unfair to talk about Chloe Zhao's without talking about The Eternals. I do think that it's interesting to think about what she does with a bigger stage and a bigger budget. And this seems like it might be the movie that she got, you do one for them, they do one for you.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the movie that she's been itching to make, and
it seems like that.
And maybe like The Eternals is like the way you get here.
You got to make some money, right?
Well, I don't know if that movie made a lot of money. And this movie's getting a lot of love. So look, hey, I'm going to assume it's a good choice. You're putting it this high on the list makes me want to see it more.
I saw it 2 days ago and it skyrocketed to 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I'm assuming hopefully. It's not just the rawness of the experience, but hey, I like a good tearjerker, and occasionally a good jerker.
I mean, now we're on your number 3, though.
Oh shit. Well, I don't know if this is as much of a tearjerker as old Hamnet, but I do think this is a movie that's getting its praises sung, and I'm glad that people are discovering it and connecting with it the way that I did. My number 3 is Ephus. Directed by Carson Lund.
You play ball, kid?
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor. Don't.
It's all combat. Life. This game. Combat.
It's nice to be back on this grass field. It's a shame those pricks are building a school here.
Can't quit this field, huh? Doesn't want to stop playing.
Well, what are we doing here? Come on! Get going now. The whole game would be pointless.
It was already pointless, fellas. Hey, mate, throw the Ephus.
The Ephus pitch is a type of curveball so unnaturally slow that it confuses the batter.
Makes him lose track of time.
It's kind of like baseball. I'm looking around for something to happen. Poof, game's over.
Yeah.
Okay, I've literally never heard of this. So.
What the fuck are you talking about?
No.
This is on so many lists.
I had to look it up right now.
Well, no, you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it, and
I'm not doubting you.
No. Well, so first of all, when it comes to the making of these lists, there's always the question of like when you honor the year that it came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this has had a very confusing release schedule.
Okay.
So this movie was a festival darling in 2024.
But it didn't get bought and distributed until 2025.
I don't think it got distributed or bought, period. I think that the distribution model was like self-release.
Well, did it just go to streamers? Like, how did you come across this?
I think it went straight to rental. Now, this is me being anecdotal, so I don't actually know. That's probably some research I should have come armed to this discussion.
So it's on Mubi, so it's one of the Mubi.
Yeah, but I don't think it was like a Mubi release like Big
The
release.
Mastermind.
Yeah, like Mastermind was a big Mubi release, right? Like I didn't see like the Mubi branding in front of the movie.
Okay.
And because of its weird, wonky release situation, on IMDb, it's listed as a 2024 movie.
Okay.
However, it did not release into theaters for like general Johnny Q to see it until 2025.
All right. Well,
and it's on many 2025 lists.
Well, semantics aside, tell me about this film.
Listen, I love a baseball film.
Yes.
I love a baseball film. Even if I didn't love baseball, I love baseball films. I like sports movies. I guess I'll put it that way. I think that there's something cinematic about sports. That's why I like sports. And I'm not like a sports guy on the surface. I'm not the type of guy that will play fantasy football. I didn't discover my love for baseball until I was in college. I hate big corporations. Every owner of every major sports team is a fucking piece of shit, an undeniable major piece of shit. Every single one. And yet, I think that baseball is one of the most important and interesting institutions, not just in American history, but in pop culture history. But this movie's not concerned with that.
No.
This movie is concerned with being a baseball movie for lonely old men. And that might sound boring. And by the way, if I were to put EFIS on right now and you were to sit there and watch it and you weren't in a theater experience, you'd probably drift to your phone pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Your attention would drift from the film.
But why is it number 3?
But it's a movie that not only encapsulates so perfectly what its subject is, and in this case, what is special about that game, but also about the idea of finding community and bringing people of diverse backgrounds together in this perfect, timeless milieu in a way that no other sports movie has done that I can think of. It's this movie about these men who are just basically doing the equivalence of slosh ball at a field it's just their hometown field, and it's going to get torn down for a school. And a school, by the way, is the perfect thing to tear down a fucking municipal baseball field for. And yet, I don't know, man, just watching like the trailer for this movie like made me tear up because it's about the importance of institutions, the importance of tradition. And it's very informative that this country is very lacking for those things. Desperate for tradition and institution. Why else are they putting out the fucking chocolates for your birthday for Valentine's Day? Why are they putting those out on stores' shelves on December 28th? You know what I mean? Like
normalcy. It gives routine and institutions.
Right, but also it's because people clamor for tradition, and they don't have and we are a melting pot of a country, and that's what makes us great, despite whatever the cunts that are ruining it will tell you. And baseball is one of those places where that transcends those ideas of. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of fucking major pieces of shit that have played that game and that own it now and have commercialized it.
Sure.
But this is a movie that cuts through all that and understands what's important about that tradition, but also understands what's important about any tradition or any pursuit that can connect you to people that you wouldn't ordinarily connect with. This movie does that better than any movie I've seen in the last decade, maybe. And I'm not saying that makes it super special. I'm not saying that
it's impactful, though.
It doesn't have an agenda. It's really a meditative movie. It's not a fast-moving movie. It takes place on one baseball field in one day. And a lot of the characters in it are not seasoned actors, and there's not going to be a breakthrough performance in EFIS. There are one or two great little exchanges of dialogue and monologues that are here and there, but there's not going to be one person that you're like, that's the performance of the year. There's just nothing like that in EFIS. It's not that kind of movie. It's a meditative movie about community and loneliness, and it's nodding to the fact that like this sport has been co-opted on paper, but not spiritually, I guess, if that makes sense. I urge you to watch it, but don't expect it. It's not Moneyball. You're not going to see like a rousing success story. I don't know. I haven't seen a film that's running such an interesting experiment, sports-wise or dramatically or otherwise, in a long time. So EFIS, number 3, directed by Carson Lund.
Interesting. I will definitely have to check it out. I love a good baseball film, too.
I'm surprised we haven't talked about this.
Number 2.
We're down to 4, bish.
No, we're down to 2. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, but we each got a 2 and we each got a 1. Multiplication is an important skill.
This is a movie that I imagine is going to be on both of our remaining lists. And it's a movie that is doing a lot, made by a director that I think we both cherish. And
that's okay. Well, now I'm not sure where you're going with this.
You cherish this guy, Paul W.S. Anderson.
Oh, Paul Widescreen Anderson.
Yeah, Paul Widescreen Anderson. No, it is by the other Anderson. Okay. It's by PTA, and it is One Battle After Another.
Rise and shine.
Bat an eyelash.
Good morning.
There are no hands on the clock.
Why?
Because they're not needed.
What time is it?
You know, I don't remember that part. All right, let's just not nitpick over the password stuff. Look, this is Bob Ferguson. All right, you just called my house. Let's cut the. I need the rendezvous point.
What time is it?
Look, Steve Lockjaw just attacked my home. I lost my daughter. This is Bob Ferguson. You understand?
Right.
I don't remember any more of this. I don't remember any more of this code speak. All right, let's just get on with what is the rendezvous point.
So this is a movie that I don't think is unbeknownst to many.
I don't hear anyone talking about this.
Yeah, this is a movie that was pretty much a cultural phenomenon when it came out. And for good reason. I think this movie sat at my top for a long time.
Yeah.
I still think that it's technically probably the best made movie of the year. As we've spoke about off mic several times, this movie is doing a lot. And if you were to give a synopsis to someone, I don't know that you can really narrow down on any one thing.
Yeah, it's hard to do that successfully.
I think that you could argue that there's a lot of family trauma, there's a lot of racial tension, there's a lot of economical tension, there's a bunch that this movie is trying to get across, and it does all of them pretty well. And I think that it's just technically sound. I think it's PTA at its top tier. I think DiCaprio's great. Del Toro is probably the MVP of the film for me, aside from Sean Penn.
I think for most audiences, that's probably the case.
And I think that it's a movie. We've talked a lot about which movies would be something that you look back on. I think that for the most part, this movie is the movie of the moment for this year.
Right.
And rightfully so. But also it's a time capsule of what we're going through and kind of the shift that we're in right now. I think it's a movie that will age well because it's PTA and because PTA's movies usually transcend time pretty well. I think that there is a chance that it gets a little hokey in its message, maybe. I think just like with Eddington, where it veers into, it does teeter on being a little too on the nose and being a little too like...
You feel that maybe it telegraphs its message.
Yeah, it's hinting at the audience a little bit too much. But I think this movie is a lot more subtle than Eddington is. I think that it's doing a lot and saying a lot in under the guise of a father-daughter dynamic. It's a very well-crafted movie, and I think that the only reason that it's not number one for me is that I think that there's another film that hits a bit more of an emotional core for me than this movie does.
Now I'm really off base, but how does PTA's filmography sit with you? Are you? Is it always a value add to you, or do you?
There will be.
Do you wrestle with his more challenging films?
No, I mean the most challenging one to me might be Inherent Vice or Phantom Thread. There Will Be Blood. I've gone on record several times saying that's my favorite movie of maybe the last 50 years. One Battle After Another is his passion project. Obviously, he worked 10 years on this.
I think so, yeah.
It will be interesting to see how we look upon this in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
because
I think so.
I do think that it does have staying power, but I do think that it is such a fleeting moment of a movie that it might get lost. But for this year, we talked about Sinners and how culturally significant it was. This movie was the same. The thing that sticks with me this year and with this film is the generational passing down what you believe in, how you've lived your life, and how you're passing that on to your children or to those that follow you. And
or how they're inheriting that.
And I think the dynamic between Leo and Chase Infinity and Teyana Taylor is interesting to me because you have one side where they're super passionate about something and they will push it to no ends and torpedo their dynamic with their daughter and their loved ones. And you have somebody who completely abandons it on the other end and becomes somebody who is addicted to alcohol, as Leo says, and just kind of buries it. And you have a daughter who is trying to form her own personality and you see how it affects her and who she becomes and what she picks up from both people. This movie is talking about values and about movements and about people's desires and intentions of breaking the shackles of society. And it's generational. It's just interesting how what remains and what changes and what doesn't. And I think that this movie, while it does a lot, that's what stuck with me. And that's kind of a theme that was prevalent in the movies that I watched.
That's their number 2. Well, now I'm actually just perplexed as to what your number 1 could be. Well, I think I have an idea.
Well, let's see your number 2.
Okay. I'm just going to cut through the bullshit. And I have a personal connection to this man. and I agree that it's been a rocky few years for this particular filmmaker. But
Mel Gibson.
When you put Mark Wahlberg in a ball cap like that,
God,
I can't help but be enamored. So, Flight Risk is my number. No, my number two. It's not cool to put it. My number two and my number one aren't. It's not cool to put them there, but I don't give a shit. I think that this is an honest reflection of the year. My number two is 28 Years Later.
Every skull is a set of thoughts. These sockets saw, and these jaws spoke and swallowed. This is a monument to them, a temple. Don't worry, no, it's not precious in that way. It's the structure is solid, but the bones will fall apart due to time or the elements of Spike's hand. The memento mori is actualized. Do you know this man?
His name was Eric. He saved our lives.
Let's find Eric a home.
Yeah, man.
No frisbee?
No.
You don't want the frisbee
I
in
thought
there?
the frisbee scene was pretty impactful. I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't. We're all talking about
this high.
This high. Let me explain.
I mean, I feel like I know you're number one now, but this high is.
No, look, I'm so fucking sick of the zombie genre. Absolutely sick to death of it.
And here we are.
And I actually think that 28 Days is quite flawed, even as seminal as it is, and in the importance of filmmaking. It's one of the first digital filmmaking artifacts.
Yeah, how they made the movie is monumental.
Well,
but it's
but
flawed.
I actually think that's secondary, and that gets lost because yes, it was a piece of a masterpiece of guerrilla filmmaking. But I think that gets lost in the importance of shooting on digital. Despite all that, also being just a seminal work by Danny Boyle, who I think has shot himself in the foot with some of the projects he's chosen and has chosen some projects that maybe he wasn't aptly suited for. But you know what? He's owned up to that. Like he has said, like, hey, you know what? Maybe I wasn't the right guy to make like Slumdog Millionaire. You know,
I mean, he won some Oscars from it and got some.
Yeah,
fame.
but he's not like riding on that success.
No.
And
somebody goes against that for sure.
This movie surprised me by how ingenuitive it was, by the level of craft that was so inventive. This was a movie visually. I can't think of a movie within the last 10 years, and I mean this sincerely.
Well, like that chase scene over the water.
There are visuals in this film that I cannot conceive of replicating. Maybe that's not so important, but this movie manages to marry the psychological, the character-driven elements of this film with those experiments. And I think that a lot of people get wrapped up in the confusing ending of this film. I will concede, and maybe a point that should have probably knocked this back a few points on the list, is that it is designed to be the first part of a
trilogy.
A trilogy, or at least a sequel, a duology, and then a trilogy. It's very possible that they shit the bed and don't stick the landing. I don't think that matters. I think this movie's doing a really interesting thing when it comes to pop culture. And you know, it was on your list. This is a movie about stripping away politics from a culture and just seeing what you have left when those politics are stripped away and you leave a culture by itself to become a tribe again. And, you know, it makes this a point about violence filling that void. But it also has a lot to do, and Garland and Boyle both talk a lot in interviews about this movie about how they wanted to emphasize the meaning of pop culture and kind of tiptoe around what it actually means to people. And there's a lot has been made about this movie and its send up of Jimmy Savile, who is a notorious sex pest in the UK, which is confusing for a lot of people. But I also think that a lot of people are afraid of context and are not willing to do the extra homework to understand why it's interesting.
Yeah.
And this movie does such a good job of not only visually being inventive, but sonically. In its soundtrack, it's invoking old Laurence Olivier movies from England's past. And this is essentially a Brexit movie. I mean, and that's not, maybe that's too on the nose, and maybe that knocks it down a few points. But like, I think that people are going to forget about this movie. I think Nia DaCosta's film's going to come out. It'll be good or it'll be bad. Who knows? They do 3 of these things and Danny Boyle doesn't do another one. Maybe they forget about the quality of this film. But this is a really well-made film. And I just urge everyone to just, even if you don't like horror, even if you don't like zombie shit, and I hate zombie shit, I'm so tired of it. Mm-hmm. Go back and watch the craft of this film. And by the way, you talked about crying at Hamnet. I was not expecting to fucking bawl at the end of a fucking zombie film.
No, I agree.
I just was not prepared for that at all. And Ralph Fiennes is not going to get a lot of credit for his performance in this, but he really does deserve a lot. And obviously, the award circuits don't like genre films, so he's not going to get nominated for anything. And this movie's probably not campaigning for him to, but his performance is award worthy in it to me.
Agree.
So I'm just happy to see it on other lists. It makes me feel like less of a freak. It's much lower on other lists, but it was very high up for me.
10 is 10, right?
Yeah, 10 is 10, but I am shocked by how effective this movie was for me. And it's not the cool choice. It's not a cool choice to put at number 2, but that's where I feel like it belongs for me.
Like you said, it was in my top 10, so
Yeah.
I agree with you on some level.
You got love for it. But now it's the piece de resistance.
Number one.
This is a big one, man. So I think I know what this is going to be.
Do you want to guess, or do you want me to?
No, I don't want to guess. But I'll be interested to hear your defense of this film. So let's get into it.
It's a film that was on your list. And
it
is, yeah.
Well, now I'm very confused.
Now, guess what it is.
Okay, well, I was going to guess if I had legs, I'd kick you.
That was going to make it.
Okay.
But it didn't.
Okay, well, now I'm super confused. So go for it.
My number one is Sentimental Value.
Oh, okay. I should have seen this coming.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
You were glowing in your love for.
Yeah, so I had just seen If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You like 3 days ago, and I liked that film, and it teetered between 9 and 10, but it fell off.
Okay.
Sentimental Value is the movie that stuck with me the most this year. Not to repeat a lot of what you said earlier.
No, repeat it. It's your number one. Go off, bro.
It is the most emotionally in tune movie of the year. It is the most human movie to me, and I can't recall a movie that narrows in and fleshes out the nuances and struggles of generational struggle and trauma in such a simplistic but complicated way that it does. It is such a telling story that I think a lot of families deal with and a lot of people deal with, and it's such a real thing that, for better or for worse, you are affected by your parents, and you're affected by your grandparents, and you're affected by your children, and you're trying to do your best, and sometimes you just can't fucking do it.
Well, and something that gets lost in the discussion of this movie, you can't escape the place that you grew up.
Yeah, and sometimes you're born into what you are, and whatever you're born into makes you at a certain point. Mm-hmm. And you have no choice in that, and you try to do the best you can. And sometimes you fuck the next generation up. And I think the strong thing about this is that it could go so cheesy in a way. Instead of a 100% forgiveness, there's an understanding, and there's a acknowledgement in what the other person has gone through. And I think that's way more strong than just saying, I wash this away, I forgive you, but there's a way of understanding how you were affected. And I think I can't recall a film that has done this on that level. And I think that you've mentioned the performances are solid across the board, they're phenomenal across the board. But also something that struck me with this film is the comedy of it. And it's not a forced comedy. It was also human. It was also understanding. It was also, you felt this person going through so many different emotions. And yes, you could play that comedy up if you wanted to, but it didn't. It wasn't trying to. And I think there are moments throughout this movie where it's trying it could lean into the comedy more than it needs to, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel it's wrong to call it funny. It just feels human and like honestly human in a way that it feels like it's pointing towards the human condition and the absurdity of it in a way that is just honest.
But there's just no character that you see as a villain. There's no character.
No, it's not a movie about villains and protagonists.
But it could easily be that, and I think that's.
Well, in a shitty chicken soup for the soul kind of way, it could. If it was a Lifetime movie of the month, it could.
And I just think that this movie, for whatever reason, just stuck with me because it was this affected me on a level of, this is everyday life. This is what you go through in your life with whatever trauma you're carrying around and whatever history you have as a family. And I think that that's a different emotion. And I think that the whole framework, filmmaking-wise, and writing wise, the whole framework of the house, and using the house as a framework with the family, and using a house which should be comforting and should be a stalwart through its ups and downs was really telling to me, because no matter what these people went through, that house was a connector. That house was something that they went to and spoke to them, and they didn't want to let go of, just like they didn't want to let go of anybody. And so instead of, for the most part, reaching through to each other, they reach through that house. And I think it's an easy thing for people to grasp onto an object to unleash their emotions, and it's a different thing to break through and reach out to each other. And I think this movie talks about all those human complexities and shows how hard it can sometimes be to just mend.
Those are all astute observations about this film. And I also think that a thing that gets lost about when you talk about the performances is just like how it's a way of the way that one man's only ability to reconcile with other people is through his art, and how that isn't necessarily a curse. And without spoiling anything, you see a man who can only express his emotions through the way other people interact with his art. So for example, and I won't spoil what happens with this character, but at a certain point, Stellan Skarsgård, Gustav Borg, is looking for somebody to shoot what he wants to be his masterpiece. He wants his daughter to be the star of this. She rejects him. And there's this great scene where he's talking to this potential cinematographer, somebody he's worked with for years, a collaborator. And he sees this deficiency in him. And instead of saying, you won't be able to move fast enough or work a dolly quick enough, he just kind of gives him a bit of a look. And this cinematographer character takes that as, not only is this a repudiation of my ability to work with you, but this is a repudiation of our friendship. Now I want to explain where that goes. Maybe that ends up good place. Maybe it ends up in a bad place. I don't know. But that's a really interesting lens through which to view the filmmaking process. And I haven't seen a movie do a thing like that in a long time.
Well, and I think to your point, this person sees love and connection through his art, and he can't work through that. He can't see past that. And so then it's on the other people to reach past their limits. That's a difficult thing to do. And it's hard for people to do when you have such a trauma in a family. And I think that that's where there's still love there. And I think that I haven't really seen a film that has done that.
It's a movie that grabs you by the lapels and goes, look for the goddamn ways the people that love you are trying to tell you they love you. And that's a hard message to swallow. And it's hard for the characters in the movie to swallow. How badly do you want to see the Holocaust movie that Stellan Skarsgård made? There's this, this is not a spoiler. There's like a film festival scene in this film, and Stellan Skarsgård, Gustav Borg, is this famous director, and they're doing like a retrospective of his career, and like they show like a 3-minute scene from this hypothetical Holocaust drama that he directed, and I was like, oh,
it's pretty cutthroat.
This 3 minutes of this like fake film and this fictional film are like better than some of the filmmaking I've seen all year and for various other films.
Yeah, no, I'd watch an extended version of that. And I think I also saw this. You brought up a good point. I saw this after I saw Jay Kelly.
Yeah.
And I think that Jay Kelly wants to do what Sentimental Value is doing across the board, and it just doesn't have the legs to do it.
Well, it thinks that what is important about the creation process is your sacrifice. And this movie understands that as well, but it also understands that time, place, tradition, history in your relationships matter. It's not enough to just go like, oh man, I made so many sacrifices for my craft.
Yeah.
You also have to understand that there's a deep relationship between their characters.
Well, you have to understand what was removed from you by the sacrifice. And I think Jay Kelly doesn't do that.
That's a good way of putting it.
I think sentimental value is dealing with the shadows and the darkness that is taken from you.
Whereas Jay Kelly is saying, oh, making movie hard, make family hard.
Well, and I think sentimental value is also more focused on the family dynamics and the family trauma versus what the art took away from the family.
Well,
yes, that's a framing device, but it's...
Yeah, and to your point, I think it's very truthful about the fact that it can just be one thing that brings you back together. In this case, maybe a location or maybe a process, but there's nothing that interesting about what Jay Kelly is doing.
That's my number one. I think it's a movie that has still sat with me up until now, and it's a movie that I definitely want to revisit. I think sentimental value is one that will resonate beyond.
For me, Joachim Trier has made more interesting films, but I don't know if he's ever surpassed his ability to direct performances as well as he has with this film. So I couldn't necessarily rank them. Okay, I think that's a great choice. I'll be interested to see what Time does to this movie.
Well, now I'm curious about your number one.
You know, sometimes you have a movie that's got like celebrity cameos in it, and you go, where are we going with this? You know? And I just think that people fucking slept on this fucking thing, man.
Okay, I have no idea what you're going to say.
My number one is Happy Gilmore 2. I just think that you've got to fucking listen. Benny Safdie's best work.
Is Benny Safdie in it?
I think so. I never saw
it. I never
saw
favorite.
fucking Happy Gilmore. No, listen. I love Eddington.
Wow, you left one battle after another off your top 10.
But I love Eddington. I think that it will be a movie that is going to just continue to appreciate in age. But of course, my number one is One Battle After Another.
Really? So you left Eddington off?
Nobody's coming to get you, Bob. You know that, right?
That's what you think. What's up, guys? You guys cool? You guys hanging?
Yep.
Going to the dance? Yeah, it's cool.
Listen, I'll tell you something. Whatever you do to her, I'm doing that exact same thing to your entire fucking family. I'm not fucking around.
Wait, what?
Dad?
I'm just telling you. We're talking about freedom, baby. We're talking about freedom. Freedom's a funny thing, isn't it? When you have it, you don't appreciate it, and when you miss it, it's gone. It's just gone. Poof.
There's a quinoa casserole with frosted flakes in the oven. Don't leave it on.
Got it. Have fun, homie.
All right.
All right, cool.
Let go of him.
I'm shocked that you left that off.
So this is what we were talking about at the top of the thing. I wanted a representative list, and if I was doing it in terms of where my heart goes, Eddington would have slotted in at a number 4 or 5.
Okay.
Ari Aster hit upon a real fucking truth of that movie. I think that people are going to be talking about that movie more than many of the films that are on my list. Certainly more than like Ephus or Blue Moon or Black Bag. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In terms of craft, I'm very satisfied with where I am on my list. And I will tell you, it's not cool to have One Battle After Another as your number one, even though it is a number one of many lists.
I mean, listen, I teeter between 1 and 2.
But the thing about One Battle After Another is that we talked about the timelessness of these movies over and over again. And I think that there's a thing that One Battle After Another is doing that a lot of people don't talk enough about. Mm-hmm. And it's doing a piece of filmmaking where a span of 20 to 15 to 20 years takes place over no time gap, essentially. Mm-hmm. The movie starts in 2025 and 30 years later or 20.
It starts in like the 90s.
But it doesn't. You know what I mean? It does.
Sure, yeah.
The movie's not a period film when it starts, and it's not a modern film when it ends.
Yeah, it's a monolith.
It's a movie that treats its fairy tale nature appropriately, and I know how that sounds. But I'm not a Paul Thomas Anderson apologist. I think that he takes big swings and gets ahead of his skis, and I think that he assumes the literary intelligence of his audience a little bit too much and takes a few too many liberties with the interpretation of said literary classics a little bit too much. And you talked about Inherent Vice, and we've got a pinch-in example from PTA already, and I don't think it works. And somehow he was able to tap into the spirit of our time, the revolutionary thing that we are all aspiring to right now, and marry that with a goddamned entertaining film. I have not laughed as hard at any film other than Eddington over this one. Again, this is a representative list to me. If it was just about like what I think is most intriguing, Eddington would probably be in the middle of the list somewhere. I think Eddington is fantastic. And it actually might end up being, we talked about that Klosterman book. In the future, this movie, and by the way, this film is going to win awards. It might win the Best Picture. I think it's a shoo-in for that.
Yeah.
And when that happens, as we described in our last episode, people sour on a film. And this movie's been out since...
People are already souring on it.
Oh, I know.
Already.
We talked about that. We talked about that in our last episode. People have had a lot of time to talk about what this film means. People are already up in arms about the fact that one of the lead protagonists is a black woman that abandons her family.
Which I fucking hate that whole thing. It's just so
But that's
dumb.
exactly.
It's so fucking dumb.
It's dumb because it's missing the point of this film.
Yes.
And honestly, that relationship is integral to it.
Yes.
It's about the spirit of revolution.
It's also people that haven't read the fucking book. And as somebody who's read the fucking book, like there's an explanation for it.
That's true. But I'm okay with a movie being a movie. Leonardo DiCaprio is not a white knight. He's not a savior.
He's a bumbling fool that doesn't do anything.
But that's what's brilliant about
his own.
That's what's brilliant about this film.
Mission.
To me. The movie's making the point that sometimes just being there is enough. And frankly, in this day and age, that is what I find so revolutionary, quote unquote, about this film, is that being there is not only enough, but being there and being a loving partner or family person or a member of a movement, no matter how performative your role in that movement might be, sometimes that can be enough. And it's also a movie about the way that the machinations of big influential forces that are beyond our control manipulate the levers of every facet of the political spectrum. Lockjaw is a hilarious figure. And he's an idiot. He's a true villain, but he's also a victim, and that's the thing that gets lost in this too. And he's not a victim. It's gonna be crocodile
of
tears.
Society and culture and all that.
He's a victim of culture for sure. He's a victim of what your ambition should be. He's a microcosm of what people who send money to the Kyle Rittenhouse Defense Fund believe. You know? And it's hilarious in the way that Paul Thomas Anderson dissects that. But he's also not too self-serious about it. Case in point, most people's favorite character in this film is Benicio del Toro, who's principled but goofy. And yet, it also does come down to the performances. And while I do think that Leo is doing a bit of a stock shtick Leo, everybody around him, and I think Leo's great in this.
Which is interesting because he's almost doing anti-Leo shtick.
Well,
I mean, how many roles has he done like this?
Well, I mean, he's doing Once Upon a Time Leo.
So but that's two, and they're recent. Sure. So he's
I'm willing
shifting
to take
into this.
But it's the ensemble cast around him that is doing so much of the heavy lifting. And
yes.
I am not a Sean Penn enthusiast at all.
He's great.
I think it will be a real shame if he does not get a Best Supporting Actor.
I mean, Skarsgård's coming.
Oh, and that was Skarsgård. Oh, well, Stellan. But, listen, I think he's great in that film, but he's not stretching that much.
No, but what I'm saying is his profile has boosted the last few weeks.
Sure. And I wouldn't be mad if he got it, but I just think that, and then maybe it would be.
And Sean Penn's won twice already.
Right. So as an honorary thing, and that's what the award shows are so wont to do.
I agree with you, though. I think Penn should win.
I think that this is actually the defining role of Penn's career. And
yes,
I have friends that we really agree with us in our sentimentalities when it comes to film. that don't quite get this movie.
Well,
this movie offers everything.
Well, I've had people that like we talked about this. I've had people that have come to me and been like, "What is this movie about?" And it's just like I don't want to be coy or like play dumb, but that's a really hard thing to answer.
But it's not. It's about the spirit of revolution, and it's coming at the perfect time societally.
But that's one aspect
but it's also
of this.
Yes, I agree. But what I'm suggesting is that, and I talked earlier about what the timeless nature of this movie will be. I think that the way that this movie plays with time sets this movie up as a fairy tale predominantly, and its understanding of that, and frankly,
or an allegory, I guess.
It's more about, I think that the way that this movie conducts itself will make it watchable for generations. And I also think that just the language of the film is not buried in any specific time and place. I think the most current thing about it is the industrial processes of policing, which I only think is going to get worse, right? Yeah. I mean, and honestly, I think there's something brilliant about how cavalier they treat the process of police tactics in this film.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally say, like, bring out Eddie Van Halen when they want to get a guy who's like the interlocutor in like a riot or a protest. And also like the goofiness of like the shadowy conspiracy behind everything is pointing
the Christmas gang.
That's just such a fucking great conceit. And it's just, I don't know. You read the book. I haven't read that, but I've read a lot of Pynchon, but I haven't read that.
It's not in there. Yeah.
Right. That feels like so PTA in a way that would normally make me mad, but it's so well done here.
I think to your point, there's such an ease about this film where it's, these things are current and these things are important. And I'm specifically talking about the Benicio del Toro story, which apparently that dude just came on set and made all of that up, and they're like, "Okay, this is the story now."
No,
yeah, but I think that it's so lived in and so real and so normal in this movie that it transcends, like, in a way you equate it to real life so seamlessly, and it. I think to your point, that's gonna transcend time because it's so real and so lived in.
So many of the conceits of this movie just glide past the smell test that would normally set off flags for you in this film, and at least they should if you're a living, breathing person.
Well, and we haven't even fucking talked about the chase scene.
No,
which is phenomenal.
But that's the thing. There's so many little things to discover in this, and it's not just that. I mean, there's that we referred to the riot scene. I just think even just moments of dialogue. I mean, just the interrogation scenes between this guy who's like a real cop. PTA just like saw a fucking interview with this guy. He's like, that guy seems like a real jarhead. Let's get this guy to be our interrogator. I mean, just like things like that. This movie is filled with little moments, and those are the things that are going to survive the test of time. This is going to be a movie where, as long as terrestrial cable exists, if this pops up on a fucking TBS on a Sunday, if I'm hungover and I catch, I pop in and like,
it'll be HBO
I don't
now.
know. It'll be probably around the moment where like Leonardo DiCaprio like falls off the building or whatever. I'll probably just be glued into the movie until it's over. I can't conceive of anybody seeing a film like that and misinterpreting it. This is the perfect time for this. We talked about a trifecta of films. Now we can say what they are. I think Eddington, Begonia, and this film are trying to say similar things, but no film stuck the landing as well as this one did. And
agreed.
I'm not a PTA guy. I really am not. I think that he's self-indulgent in a way that is pejorative. And now that's got me questioning all of that. So yeah, what a picture. Anyway,
what a picture.
That's our fucking top 10.
We fucking
man.
did it.
We did it. Yeah, well, listen, I hope this wasn't too long-winded of episode, and in that tradition, we're going to make it more long-winded. I just want to go through a few of our honorable mentions. I've got my list right here ready to go, so I'll go through it, and you can take us home. I think Sinners belongs on a list. It just fucking does.
I'm surprised it wasn't.
Everything that I'm about to say is stuff that I struggle to make room for. Sinners deserves to be on a 2025 list, and I think that history will bear that out. Train Dreams. Think a lot about that film. Sorry, Baby. It really pulls off something incredible. The movie that I was struggling with swapping out this morning, I was watching a film, Peter Hujar's Day, could have swapped out with Blue Moon for me. Another career performance, in this case by Wishaw. And it's an inherently more cinematic film, and yet Blue Moon won out mostly for the reasons you mentioned. No Other Choice. It's doing an interesting anti-capitalist thing. I've seen it done before. And Park Chan-wook has a very biting way of making movies. It's hard to get along with, but it's good filmmaking. Begonia, listen back to what Mr. Frank had to say about it. And finally, Eddington could have been in my top 3, but I already described, this is why I've given so much mishigas into the way that I make my list. To me, it's about representation. I think Eddington is going to be a movie we talk about for a long time. You have any runners up?
I have 3. You mentioned If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
Mm-hmm.
That is one. It gave me a lot of the feelings I had with Marty Supreme, but dealing with motherhood. And I think that it's very inventive of how it's made and how it's shot and how it's delving into this character.
It's very competently made.
I had Nouvelle Vague. I almost put that on there. I think that it was a second tier, competently made Blue Moon. I agree with you on that. I think that it's doing some things very well. I think that it's also silly in a lot of ways, which is why I didn't make my top 10.
Okay.
Weapons, for the same reasons that Sinners was in my top 10. I think that it was a big movie, and I think that it was well made. I think there's some flaws, but I think mostly for the writing and the way it told a story, really hit me and was impactful, and I think that it almost made that list.
I think people are going to be talking about that movie for a while. I wonder what time will do to it. There are things about it that are not as profound as it wants us to think. But
Machine Gun.
Listen, who among us? Well, this has been a long-winded episode. We've been drinking. We've been hurting ourselves.
No, we gotta eat some pizza now.
We got pizza to get to. It's the new fucking year. Let's kick 2025 in the dick, put it in the rearview mirror. Say goodbye. 2025 was a year of reinvention for Cast Against Type. Cast Against Type!
Nice.
At gmail.com. Cast Against Type can be found on any of your podding listening stations, including fuck Spotify, but if you want to listen there, go ahead. Fuck them.
TV.
Fuck them. But
YouTube.
Apple, YouTube, Amazon, iHeart. Get yourself our RSS feed from soundcloud.com/catpod. And go ahead and write into the show, man. CastingInside@gmail.com. Just fucking write in, bro.
Slide right in.
Take you away from the tickings and the talkings. We'll put you back on a filmic track. I swear to God, brother. Yeah, spread love if you want. Give us a thumbs up.
Kick 2025 in the deck. Put it in your mouth. Think about it.
And he's gone.